Yeah, stylistic fit's definitely been an advantage for the Ravens all the way through this. You did the running back show. That's great stuff. So, and people should go back and take a listen to that if you'd like to. Go after this draft. I guess people will have less reason to do so.
Yeah, I'll be really surprised. I'm a huge as much I don't care much about Miles Boykin's run blocking, and I think Gus Edwards is really underrated. Those are probably the two things that stick in my crow that I hear from Ravens fans. And Gus Edwards needs an opportunity. Like, just give the man touches and he will grind out 5 yards. It doesn't matter where it's on the field. It doesn't matter how he's going to do it. He just gets it done. I love the guy.
Well, the scheme is wonderful for doing that for him, and Jackson is wonderful for creating a lot of those opportunities too, because defenses have a lot. I mean, if Najee Davenport goes to the Steelers, it won't mean the same thing for their offense as Gus Edwards being here.
Hey, guys, while we're waiting for Denver to get their pick in, if you guys could all take a moment, and whoever's still watching the stream, to share the YouTube link out there. We got suspended from YouTube for showing highlights. So we got kicked off of YouTube. So we've got a new stream up and running that will be up on filmstudybaltimore.com in a moment. Or if you go to our YouTube page, it is back up and running now. And
you transferred us over there somehow, or do we have to log out?
No, we're all good.
Okay.
We're all good here. We're still broadcasting. We've got 48 people watching. We just won't be doing highlights anymore because apparently YouTube even monitors when there's no sound and just a video playing on the side.
Okay, fair enough. We'll be careful about that.
Yeah, so anyone who, I guess you can't hear me if you got kicked off because our stream got suspended, but if you refresh, you'll see there's a new stream there. So hopefully everyone will get back. Just share it on Twitter and let people know we're back up and running. And Facebook, for some reason, hasn't kicked us off. That's the one I was expecting to get kicked off today.
We really want to see Mac Jones picked here, right? As Ravens fans, that's the guy that I think he's the guy that's primed to slide if he gets out of this kind of quarterback range.
See, and I think Fields is more likely to slide. I think somebody will want Jones, but Fields is upside and downside. I think the way other teams may see it is greater than Jones. But yeah,
this is a personal on my part. I just don't see it with Mac Jones. I don't get the love. I didn't get the buzz at number 3 for the Niners. So maybe that's why I feel like I want to see this one be Mac Jones.
I think he was really good at it in practice. I think that's really at the Senior Bowl when the offense. Everybody's learning new things. It's new to everybody. He was the one steady presence. Because I'm with you. I didn't see it, but when it came to everybody learning the system and having to work together, Mac Jones was the most effective. So I think that said something about him, about learning a system and being able to produce quickly. So, but yeah, either one will be great, wouldn't it?
Denver's made their pick. They're going to the board, so this isn't an Aaron Rodgers situation. They didn't trade number 9 anyway for Aaron Rodgers, which I guess we're not really expecting to happen tonight. If a team would do it, maybe the Patriots at number 15. Are they a possibility?
Ken, come on. Ken.
Patrick Surtain is the guy.
Okay, there we go.
Wow.
That's not really what we want. I'm still not concerned that those 2 quarterbacks won't go before 27, but it's starting to make me a little more nervous about how this board's going to play out here in this first round.
I guess if you like a trade back scenario for Baltimore, if both Fields and Jones completely slide and are available when they pick at 27 and or 31, that's optimal.
Yeah, that's where my comfort level comes from. If they're not taken, then there's a good chance, or there's a chance that somebody's really going to want them at 27, and then you can throw out the charts because we might get an extra pick or so if they want their quarterback.
It's still, as once you get into what trade value is needed, and Dan, I'll address this question to you, but once you get into what trade value is needed between 24, 25, 26, 27, it's a fairly flat graded amount. It's not a big steep early of the chart thing. So since there's not a big incentive to trade, you can't hijack the other team the way you can for number 2 or number 3 or number 4 in the whole draft.
Right, especially since no one around us wants a quarterback, so they don't need to sneak in front of the 28, right? They've got the Saints who maybe want a quarterback. I don't know what their quarterback deal is. I don't think they do either. The Packers, who I guess you could see them taking a quarter. I don't think so either. And then the Bills, obviously not. So those are the three teams between 27 and 31. So they don't need our pick versus those other teams' picks in order to sneak in front of someone. So, and then 32 is the Bucks. So
Right.
it's we don't have a ton of, you got to trade into our spot in order to sneak in front of someone who's definitely going to take Fields. So unfortunately, we don't have that kind of negotiating power.
The pick at 31 gives you the leverage on, if both are still there at 31, it gives you the leverage on the 5th-year option.
Yep.
It felt like the Ravens really wanted to make sure that they got Lamar when they took him in the first round. And so maybe you get that a little bit if they're both there at 31, but I agree with you. Otherwise, not a lot there.
Yep.
Well, hey, it might just be a 5th-round pick next year or something like that. I mean, it's not saying that we're going to get a ton extra, but for a quarterback, I think it wouldn't hurt to ask for an extra little something in there beyond the chart.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. They know they're desperate. All the other teams probably do too, so they're not going to shy away from asking for more too. So, but we'll see. I think there's still a bunch of teams that want quarterbacks. I think the Patriots could be looking, Raiders maybe. So there's still some late teams that could be going.
So we still have two really good tackles on the board right here, Darrisaw and Slater.
Right. Slater, any concern on your part he ends up at guard?
I mean, for my team, I'd want him at guard, but I think with the dearth of offensive tackles out there, he's gonna be picked to play tackle somewhere.
You just have to kind of lower your standards in this year that the Mendoza line got a little lower.
Still a very good player, and guard tackle flexibility isn't a terrible thing either. I mean, obviously you want the pure tackle, but
I want, here's what I want. I'm sorry to interrupt you on this. I want left tackle, right tackle versatility. I don't want guard tackle versatility. That's like having starter reliever versatility, which means you can go 4 innings as a starter or 2 and a third as a reliever. I don't want that kind of versatility. I want the guy who can be the left tackle or the right tackle. But it's a size and shape position. Once you start compromising on that, you end up with guys who really don't fit at tackle.
So you don't think Slater could be like a Marshall Yanda unicorn type?
No, I think if there's anybody in this draft who has the potential to be a unicorn, it's him and Sewell. And they both are short arm guys. They both could beat the trend. I don't think it's Eichenberg, but I think it's those two guys. And so I think with a year of lowered standards, you try that. But I think what you got to be, and you got to say Slater's maybe a 55% chance to stick a tackle, and it goes 45%. He ends up at guard. And somebody like Cosme, maybe the number's more like 40 and 60, and Eichenberg maybe it's more like 15 and 85. So I think that's how I look at probabilistically what's the chance of that guy ending up where I really need him at tackle, as opposed to where he'd play best, which is at guard, maybe in each of those 3 cases.
I think what these tackles have that's really working for them though is their athleticism. They might not have the longest arms, but I think they make it up for it in a little bit with their ability to move their feet, their kind of quickness, their quick hands, very good, bending at the knees. They can use their leverage well, I think. So they may not have that elite kind of arm length, but they make up for it in other ways. At least that's what I see on the film.
So we just got a trade in this draft, and I can't believe that the Cowboys would trade with the Eagles. I mean, can you imagine the Ravens trading up to the Steelers spot in the first round? And I don't even mean that Ravens fans would be upset by that. I just the thought wouldn't even cross my mind. It would be well, the Ravens are not trading up to this spot, even if the perfect player had fallen to the perfect value, and it was we'll trade all our picks for that guy because it's worth it. The Ravens still wouldn't do it.
You're going all in on the first round of the World Series of Poker. That's what it sounds like to me, because the chips you're playing with are much higher denomination when you're betting against a divisional rival like that. You're right. That's very strange.
For two spots.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess you don't know the value, but it just confuses me.
Another way to look at these are two very bad
showing
teams.
it right now if you want to switch.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yep.
I didn't see the trade yet.
I just looked it up. It's the 10th for the 12th and the 84th pick. So the the Cowboys traded the 10th pick. Eagles traded the 12th and 84th pick. Results that Cowboys paid 95 cents on the dollar, gained a pretty decent amount of value. The Eagles overpaid, or based on pretty much all the charts, actually overpaid, and in order to get up to this spot. So
right, if you overpay on JJ, you overpay on all, right? To move up.
I think that's probably safe to say. Yeah.
So that's that is a pretty good value. I mean, that's a good reason to do it if you're Dallas. There is a risk, and
who's available that they did it?
It's
Devontae Smith.
No, I mean he was going to be.
I feel like it has to be a quarterback, but
no. Oh, that was with Hurts. They traded up to take a quarterback
with Hurts.
Flacco?
Yeah, Hurts is an NFL quarterback. Come on,
Joe Flacco. Come on,
elite.
Exactly.
Nice.
No way.
There's no way they traded up for a quarterback. That would stun me.
I mean, if you
really
this will be interesting.
It kind of confuses me.
Fields instead of Jalen Hurts, you take that 10 out of 10 times. All it costs you is a third-round pick.
I mean, I can't believe they gave up the 84th pick of the draft to move up 2 spots here.
Right.
Given the 5 guys that are available here at this pick, to give up that mid-round pick seems a bit much.
Well, we're going to hear who this is in just a second, but how much did the Ravens have to give up to move from 13 to 12 to draft Haloti Ngata? What round pick did they have to give up?
I remember a 4th and a 5th.
Anybody else remember anything different?
No, that sounds about right.
A 6.
Jeez.
And the guy they traded to get it, the pick ended up being Babatunde Oshinowo in the 6th round of the 2006 draft. Went to the Browns. He played 2 career games, and they ended up getting Cam Wembley instead of Haloti Ngata.
Oh man.
We went to a game at Cleveland in 2006, and somebody had already bought a custom Oshinowo jersey that they wore to that game. Sat right in front of us, and that was the game that Stover won with a 52-yard field goal, 15-14 at the as regulation was ending.
I guess that shoots my theory that we wouldn't trade with a division rival to move up in the first round. Right? I forgot it was Cleveland.
I mean, Phil Savage, had left Baltimore, and he just wanted to stick a red hot poker in Ozzy's mouth or something, because this was a unbelievable mano on mano trade. Here we go with the number 10 pick.
Still in a little shock that happened, because there's more than one player out there. I mean,
can't be quarterback. That would be ridiculous. There's 2 spots. Neither team has taken a quarterback.
I think it might be Slater.
Man, this is nice stuff, guys. Thank you.
Ken has some remarkable memory of every single transaction that's ever happened with the Ravens.
And the end of that game, field goal 15-14. That's pretty impressive.
Oh no, I'll tell you the other part of that story when we're done with this pick here. Devonta Smith. There you go. So the quarterbacks expected to go in this range, or it's not happening so far.
Yeah. So they thought the Giants were going to take Devonta Smith, so they moved up and gave a 3rd up to do so.
That could be reasonable. Giants would look for a wide receiver, right?
I guess so. I mean, that's why you would trade in division to screw. I mean, what a little a little 3-way divisional mess around here.
the wide receiver class is so deep, though. To make that move for a wide receiver, okay. Hey, I like Devontae Smith a lot. I'm not as concerned about his size as some, because the way the game is played now and the way he comes back for the ball and his body control. But there you go, Philadelphia Eagle.
All right.
He is really slender. Just seeing him right there in that suit, he's
so small.
The twig. All right, I tell you the last part of the 15-14 story. So we're at the game in Cleveland, and Stover kicked the field goal. You could hear a pin drop in the stadium, except Maureen, my wife, then girlfriend, is screaming at the top of her lungs. I came back. I listened to the broadcast, and she has a very high-pitched scream. I could actually hear it on the TV, so it's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
So we need to get Ken McCusick and Jim Palmer together.
Oh, Jim's another world for me in terms of him remembering every single Oriole at bat. You can go ahead, though. BaseballReference.com, if you want to check Palmer out, 94% of the time he's correct. And then he'll remember something about Tony Conigliaro getting a walk in 1965 against him, and it won't be exactly correct.
It was a sunny day. The wind was about 13 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's about how you tell the story. That's a big part of it.
But
I just believe him.
The
Go
difference
ahead,
with Palmer is everything is about him. He only remembers his games and his pitches.
Well, Ken didn't play unless I missed something.
Right.
No, but I was at the game, and as I love Maureen. Have to say something about her every time I get the chance. But the work I do, I could not do without her. She plays an enormous amount puts an enormous amount of effort into the offensive line scoring, into defensive score sheet making, scoring defensive players are on the field, all kinds of stuff. It's just absolutely wonderful. So I want to make sure she gets the credit she deserves here.
That's awesome.
I'm just still in shock over this trade. I'm really surprised by it.
Yeah, good for the Cowboys.
I for once, right? They make a pretty cagey move on their part. It feels like that's great value.
Yeah.
So far, my big board has held up pretty well. I got the 2 tackles there sitting alone, but the quarterbacks, of course, starting to make us all nervous that they're not taken. And Jalen Phillips is the top defender I have there. I have him above Parsons, but of course the medicals may have Phillips slip all the way down to where the Ravens are picking tonight.
That'll be interesting. The Ravens would, in the old days, had a system to black dot when they had the plaques, a player who would have a medical condition. And that would also be used on off-field concerns, but black dots were significant medical considerations. Arthur Jones was the guy they drafted who had that designation a few years back in I think 2010.
All right, got another trade. Keeping me busy.
You know the terms already, Dan?
Okay, this is the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
The Bears.
Of course, the Bears are going to overpay for a quarterback.
So my wife's a Bears fan, and we'll have to wait and see how this turns out for her.
She can be the measurement stick here.
All right, so
If you hear screaming in the background.
all right. So the Bears. Heard that. All right, so it's the Bears, and who was the pick before? Or who were those picked from? Giants.
It's the Giants.
Okay. So based on that, it'd be the 50th. What do they got?
There were a lot of picks up there. It was 2022 picks.
52. That's my guess. Oh,
Dan's amazing at getting it right.
All right, 5th for 1st and 4th, huh? So those are just my guesses about the approximate value. Again, I've got it's look ahead a year, so adjust it by 32. So we've got the 20th pick, the 164th pick, which were this year's. Then we've got the first pick next year. So that's the 20th plus the 32 adjustment is 52. And then we've got the 5th. We've got the 5th round, which was 164.
196.
Plus 32. So 196. So 101. So pretty spot on again by JJ. So
yeah. Did we get is that the official on it? Or is that what you projected to be?
No, that's the official.
Okay.
I just saw that on TV that it's the
Okay, so let's make sure people understand what you did, and let's do this. If I can parrot that back, what you just said. So number 11 got traded by the Giants. The Bears trade number 20 this year. They trade their first round pick next year, which is in that pick 3, and that's you don't know where it'll be, but you're assuming it'll be 32 picks lower than this year's pick, and you're putting it at 52. This year's fifth is known. That's number 164. Next year's fifth is not known. You're putting that in at 196 just because it's 32 more.
Yeah, so you assume that they're in the same spot of the round next year. So for the first round next year, assume they'll be in the 20th spot again. And then the adjustment for 1 year deferral is 32 picks. So so that's where it comes in.
Imagine if this is not a quarterback.
Yeah.
Chicago would be burning tonight.
Well, also we should note here that Dave Gettleman has now finally traded back in the draft after
That's
the
true.
myth
It's a good
existing
point.
that he would never trade back.
Was that DJ that said what, like NASCAR right turn or something like that?
Yeah, yes, that's what he said.
That's funny.
The guy who
I like it. Some excitement.
somebody's tipping picks here. Don't try not to tip picks in the YouTube thing. Nobody's actually said it here, but we appreciate it, Jimmy. Thanks for staying with us here. This is fun. I love talking football with you guys. Every one of you, appreciate having you on the show when you're on, and the time we have talking football is just some of the best times of my life.
It's going to be Micah Parsons, isn't it?
There you go. Urlacher Jr. Not really, but they need some hope, this franchise.
They had some big trades for inside linebackers in past years. Justin Fields. Yep. Justin Fields it is from Ohio State. All right.
I actually like that.
Good for him and good for them. I mean, they need some excitement in their offense and really some hope for the future in that team. It's just been so blah for so long.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Dan, you look at this trade and say they harvested really more than full value, because if they got the full JJ value, then they got picks in 2022. You can make the argument with the non-opt-outs and the all the conferences playing against those 2022 picks, also with a cap adjusting northwards, might be of greater value. Do you think that how would you evaluate that, just in terms of what how would you do it?
Yeah, I think I think that's reasonable. I think it's a lot to give up 2 firsts, but at the same time, if you think he's the quarterback of the future, there's almost nothing you can't. There's the bar is much higher on what I'd be willing to give up for a quarterback than any other position. So, if you're anywhere close on the charts and you're getting a quarterback that you think is a long-term starter, I think that's a win. So, I'm sure they're thinking they're going to be better than 20th next year in the first round. So that significantly brings it in your favor. So, so if they improve, they significantly win this trade.
Okay, 1999 for Ravens fans. A lot of folks out there remember the Ravens were sitting on a second-round pick. The Atlanta Falcons called and said, "We need that. We'll give you our first-round pick next year in exchange for it." The Ravens traded it to them. The Falcons went in the tank that year.
Mm-hmm.
Finished with the 5th worst ball, but number 5 pick overall. Went back to the Ravens in 2000 and became Jamal Lewis. So be careful when you trade for the player you think is going to get you over the top, particularly a quarterback, because you may suffer in that first year and be trading away more than you think you are, particularly in terms of that first-round pick. It could look very bad for the Bears.
Very good point. If it goes the other way and they, our 10th pick, that's a huge change. So,
yeah. And who do we think they were trading in front of? I mean, I'm a little surprised that they pulled the trigger here at this spot, because I don't think a quarterback was coming off unless they thought someone else was going to trade up. I don't think we had another quarterback coming off the board, at least for a few picks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Those are the things we don't know. And just looking at it from a Ravens perspective, Chicago's on the schedule next year. I believe we play the North. So when that schedule comes out, I want to see Chicago in September, October. If they have a rookie quarterback, let's play him early before he gets comfortable. So look for.
Yeah, before I even get a chance, the YouTubers are out there saying, "Hi, Sarah. Hi, Sarah." So, Sarah Ellison joining us on the show here. One of our favorite guests, of course, always on Film Study. Really appreciate having you here, Sarah.
Thanks for having me. It's good. I've heard a lot of these guys on the show with you, but I've never gotten a chance to converse and talk with them. So this will be fun.
All right, all of them lots of fun as we've talked about before. So Sarah, we haven't gotten your opinion about what's going on here in this first round. Lots of drama tonight. Obviously lots of Ravens centric things happening as we go along. I don't think there's been any surprise that particularly helps the Ravens so far. But what are your thoughts about this going into tonight?
I'm mostly looking at Atlanta and the Bengals so far having a major pick on the Ravens. I think I bring up the Falcons only because of the, rumblings that the Ravens have inquired about Julio Jones, which, by the way, the Ravens keep saying they're not interested in a wide receiver, but reports keep coming. I mean, it's a long list of veteran wide receivers that they've at least inquired about. So I'm wondering, with this pick of Pitts, does that make this more likely or less likely to trade Julio? Or no effect at all?
I think that's a great question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gabe.
No, I was going to say, I hadn't really considered it from that angle before, but I think less likely because I think they're in it for one more season, maybe two more seasons with their core, with Ridley, with Jones, with Pitts, with Ryan. You think you have a shot to maybe make some noise. I mean, you can do some similar things with Pitts that you did with Jones in terms of just having an offensive weapon, but having all three of them on the field at once, that's really dangerous.
And I'm going to jump in and side with Jimmy Dean right there with no effect, just because I think they're trading Julio strictly for cap purposes. So I don't think it had anything to do directly with, or picking Pitts will have anything directly to do with what they do with Jones.
They're in a really bad cap spot.
Yeah, and you make that point is that the cap spot could be really what's dictating everything here. I don't know what it means, but Atlanta's not in a good position for a quick rebuild the way they're structured. You never are, I guess, when you're in close proximity to letting your franchise quarterback go.
Yeah, I cut out for a minute there, but I also thought it might be less likely, which I read a lot of articles out in Atlanta to get their beat writers' perspectives, and they're very incredulous that Atlanta will trade him. So I think it's less like what I was waiting to see is if they might pick a quarterback of the future. And I know they still have Matt Ryan on a hefty cap deal, but if they're like the Ravens, and they're not, but it's not often that you can get to number 4. And so if they wanted to, get a guy and then have him develop, then I thought maybe that'd signal a rebuild, and then maybe Julio would want to get out. But to me, it's now they have an even more potent offense. And I mean, they have to create room somehow, but I felt like it was less likely.
Ryan is signed for 3 more years, and the total cap number for those 3 years is approximately $119 million. 26.9, 48.7, and 43.6. Of that, he's still got 64 million, 65 million in prorated bonus to be paid in that period. That money's already been spent. They can't change
I've been reliably told by Twitter that cap is cap this week, meaning the cap is a lie, which if that were true, Julio wouldn't even be available in the first place. I mean, they've definitely not managed their cap extremely well. Obviously, the COVID hurt and everything, but he's potentially available because the cap is real. You can only do that for so long. And I like seeing Dan's head nod because he knows about money and value and all that. So, yeah. But then the second thing.
Oh, I was just going to say they're going to run a lot more 2 tight end heavy sets now with Pitts and Hurst. I mean, as long as that's the direction they want to go, there's cap value between those 2 guys from that sense. Arthur Smith's the perfect guy to put Matt Ryan into a play action system and suck every dollar value out of that contract of him, even as he ages.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what's funny. Hayden Hurst wanted to trade out of Baltimore because he wanted to be the guy. he was competing against Mark Andrews, and now he's got Kyle Pitts. So come on back, Hayden. We're not giving back a second, though. Maybe a fourth, and he can come on back.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. I'm sure the Ravens would like to have him back at a reduced cost. So Micah Parsons goes number 12 to Dallas. The linebacker position, this is another year where I think, not necessarily devalued isn't the word I use, but we had the two Devons a couple of years ago, got both drafted, I think, at number 5 and number 10 by Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh, Devin White, Devin Bush. I think we're still seeing pretty good value at inside linebacker here, and Micah Parsons certainly to Dallas. This is they felt very confident they'd still get their guy, I guess, by trading back to.
Excellent blitzer too, Parsons. So if you're talking about, well, hey, the linebackers are only affecting the first level, maybe the second level. He affects what I call the zero level, which is in the backfield. He can get there. Dynamic blitzer. They just put on the screen, can cover tight ends and running backs. Versatile. I agree with all that. Very good player.
Let's bring up your big board for a second, see who's left in terms of that. So Micah Parsons, he was one of the first rounders, right? Or was he in the green?
He was in the blue. He was right there between Phillips and Vera Tucker. So not sure what happened to my numbers there in the first column, but to give you a number of it. But yeah, Parsons would have been in that 18 right where it said 18 next to it. So not a lot of surprises. I'm waiting for somebody in the purple to get picked. A Melanfonwu, a Stokes, an Usai, an ATN, Creed Humphrey. Waiting for somebody to go that I'd like to see that board a little more messy than it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys get great value there too, considering that's probably the guy they were going to take at 10, and they pick up that third in the process too. That's nice for them.
And who'd they get it from again? The division rival.
I think it's good for the Ravens, though, to see a linebacker, off-the-ball linebacker go this early. I mean, I think he was expected to go, but he's someone that, is not one of the premium positions that the Ravens want. And like we've said with running back, like we said with quarterback, I think every off-the-ball linebacker we see go is good for the Ravens.
Yeah, we did not even do a linebacker show this year for that exact reason. Linebacker and quarterback were the two positions we left out. Sarah, you had something to say.
Well, I was on that big board. I was looking down at my paper. Did you only have Darisaw left as an any year? No, you got Slater there too. Okay.
Yeah, I have Darisaw and Slater.
I'm a little bit nervous. We could have a run on tackles. I am slightly, but not. Well, I shouldn't say I'm surprised. Bengals took Jamar Chase, which they've now got Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. So that's Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, and all those guys are going to have their hands full. That said, who the heck is blocking for Burrow? So I'm a little bit, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too indoctrinated from the Ravens, but to me, I feel like grabbing the tackle there, Penny Sewell, would have been the smarter move.
You need a running game too to support Burrow. Not just pass blocking, but a running game would help him too. They right. I didn't get it either. I'm right there with you, Sarah.
Did Joe Mixon leave already, or is he still with them for another year at least?
I think he's still there.
Okay.
The only I'm sorry, Sarah. The only defense I had for them is the connection between Burrow and Chase that they already have. But I agree overall. They need a line, and they don't have a defense either. So,
I mean, if we can have Patrick Queen going out there and sacking him again and then forcing him a fumble because he can't get the ball out. But Ravens fans, this is what makes Ravens fans mad, though, because you've got in Cincinnati Chase, Higgins, Boyd. In Pittsburgh, you've got Juju Smith, Claypool, and Johnson. And then in the Browns, you've got OBJ, Landry, and Higgins. And at the Ravens, you've got Hollywood, Miles Boykin, and now Sammy Watkins. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just a complete version. I mean, it's a cliche. The Ravens are zigging while everybody's zagging, but that is why the Ravens invest in cornerbacks and they're all in on the run first. So, but it makes Ravens fans jealous to see those lineups in the AFC North.
Let's talk about 1 second for the Chargers pick here, because the pick's in, and this is one of the big ones that affects the Ravens. I think it goes without saying, because this might be an offensive tackle. Darisaw is a player who's been mapped to them fairly frequently. Wouldn't shock me if it were Slater. But I think a lot of people think that the Chargers will take an offensive tackle. If this is a surprise, this would really help the Ravens. If this is some other player, whoever that might be, I think it's a positive for the Ravens. Anybody else have feelings about it?
I do. I think that the next two picks, actually, the Chargers and the Vikings, are both going to go with tackle. I mean, they were both in supposedly for Orlando Brown. So the need is there for the team, or the want to supposedly is there for the team. So a surprise here would be great, would be absolutely great. But I think the next two picks, we're going to see Darrisaw and Slater go.
Okay, I agree. We will see at 14, I guess, because I think Darrisaw will be the guy at 13 here, but we'll see at 14, I guess, whether or not there are other misgivings about Slater that may have him drop further. It would be a very big reach for the Vikings to take somebody like Leatherwood at this point. But they could trade down and make that pick if they were going to do it. Might see the pick traded.
And AVT is completely out of the discussion for tackle position, right?
In my opinion, yes, he's a guard, right? Do you feel differently about it? Anybody?
I think he's a guard too. But since we mentioned him, how do we feel about him as the Ravens' first pick? Like, I think he would be an outstanding guard, and in the 20s, that's not bad value necessarily.
He's a good interior lineman, so I don't have a problem with that. But I think I go back to the fact that I think the Ravens need a tackle who they can depend upon to play tackle.
I was very high on Darrisaw in our interior O-line show, and I believe he's a left guard all day. You can move Bozeman to center. The pulls, the second level stuff, his feet are very good. And I do think he could survive at tackle if Stanley missed a game or two, as we've seen in the past. Especially, like I said before, they must rush Lamar a lot. So you have Vera Tucker's very good with his hands, very good with his timing, very good with his feet. You don't need too much sometimes against certain schemes that the Ravens face. So I love Vera Tucker.
I think that a lot of times what's required in terms of athleticism out of your left guard is very overrated. I think in particular, the keys are having players with good footwork and having the guy who can open the front gate at right guard effectively. The scheme in general helps a lot, but you really can make do with less athleticism and more power at left guard than people would normally say.
Okay. I just saw Bozeman pull 18 times in one game, and I'm thinking, yeah, man, we really need somebody that can move at left guard.
Yeah, I mean, here's the point. I mean, do you really consider Bozeman to be an elite athlete? Because I don't. That was a big strike against him coming out of school. Was he didn't have the athleticism to get to level 2, and I thought, well, he's just playing left guard. It's not that hard to pull in the Ravens system. That's just my feeling about it. He's become excellent. He's technically very good at it. I just don't think there's anything special about him as an athlete that makes him outstanding at that.
No, it's good. That's a good discussion. I mean, he's very under control too when he gets there. A lot of these guys are flying out and they can't make the last second adjustments. And Bozeman, I mean, you got to give him all the credit in the world because, like you said, athleticism was his main knock coming out. He had the experience. He was playing for a great team.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing we're not talking about is if there is a run on tackles and the Ravens decide that they don't want to move up to get in on that for whatever reason, I think that a run on tackles will create a drift back in terms of edge, which is still a big need for the Ravens. Mm-hmm. I think, I want to see them go offensive line, but if one of these edge guys that they really like can fall, they don't have to move up to take him, like Woody Pay or whoever you like. I think a lot of different people have a lot of different preferences, but that wouldn't be all bad.
Yeah. Mildly surprising, Rashawn Slater is the guy out of Northwestern. A guy that certainly one of the top pedigrees in this draft at tackle, one of the top evaluated players, but a little bit surprising it's not Darrisaw over him.
Darrisaw had some of those health questions late, though, from what I was reading, at least. And I don't know enough about his profile personally, but that seemed to be the thing that was in discussion about why he had a chance to fall into the range for the Ravens to move up for him.
I did see that question, and I actually saw, I believe it was Lance Zierlein, question his effort backside backside blocking and that kind of thing, where if he wasn't directly involved, where it's just he's blocking for a second and that's pretty much it. But I mean, I love him. I think he's a very fluid athlete, and he looks like a natural left tackle to me, which is something that's very rare. So,
yeah, and Darisaw doesn't have the arm length concerns that Slater has, and you know, I think Ken, you mentioned that you think Slater might end up playing inside. Well, I don't think that the Chargers are thinking that when they're picking him at 13, but we've seen guards go that early before, so maybe.
Yeah, I don't think they're thinking that at all. I think they're just thinking he's going to stick. And, you know, the two guys in this draft, Sewell and Slater, are the kind of guys who are unicorns who would beat the odds and be able to play there with shorter arms. So
with this next, go ahead.
Saying that I was reading that the Vikings, one of their top needs is interior line. So I guess we're hoping they go AVT instead of tackle. We'll see.
I don't think AVT is going to get past the Raiders if he's still on the board anyway. It's interesting because we have some of these guys that feel like what we really need is who's going to be this wild card team to come in and take a guy that isn't, you know, Jason's got a great board that isn't already kind of queued up to be kind of one of those top guys. And
yeah, the Raiders are one of the teams you could usually count on for that, with Cleveland Farrell and Arnett.
Hey, Ken, I'll make a prediction for you. How about if the Raiders go AWOL, it's going to be for Stokes. The corner runs 4.2
Okay.
something.
That'd be exciting.
Speed.
Yeah.
Always speed with the Raiders.
Yeah, Georgia
player 4.29. I want to say he ran, and I think he's 6 foot too. So he's in that overall athlete.
You're 6 foot also, right? Or not 6'2", right?
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ken. That's
I thought he was a math guy, but I guess he's an English teacher too.
Yeah, I want to be careful about that. Just so people don't get the wrong idea out there.
No, thanks, Ken. I appreciate that. Just messing with you as well. He's 6 foot as well. It's that School of Journalism at Maryland, right? Right, Jordan?
There's still a lot of interesting guys that could fall to the Ravens, though. You know, the tackle thing, I am a little worried about tackle at the moment, and I think that there's a chance that the Ravens aren't going to get a tackle with one of these picks, just because there is going to be a run on it. But I think, you know, if you're one of those guys out there that likes like Mo Rig, for example, you know, I think that if the run on tackle happens, he could be a guy that slides down, and maybe one of the edge guys too.
So if they don't get one of these top tackles, what do you think the game plan is for this year? You think, you know, placeholder for a year with a veteran or Tyree, or do you think there are enough decent options? You know, I've seen some names thrown around in the 3rd or 4th round.
I think they have developmental guys who I think would make sense, whether that means, you know, maybe getting Spencer Brown, although he may be already gone, but Forsyth is out there. You know, they have Doyle, they have some other guys who would make sense later on in the draft, who the Ravens are going to have a better idea of who fits their system and has the tools they want.
All right.
But they can afford to, if they get Villanueva and we don't have a long absence of Stanley, they can wait 1 year, and that's a really great developmental buffer to have if they put themselves in that position.
But they've got
another trade.
Oh, really? Nice. So they've got to do something at left guard, though, for sure, at the top end, I think, if they don't get one of these top tackle types too. So, you know, there are multiple directions they'll have to go in if they don't, to answer your question, Dan, I think.
So the Jets trade up and immediately get the pick in. That's interesting.
Huh.
Oh, who did they take already? They already took a quarterback, right?
Took Wilson, yeah.
Joe Douglas is going to blow our minds.
Quarterback.
So they have Mekhi Becton there still, right? So they have a blindside protector.
Interesting.
What's the odds it's a running back?
It goes to show you, though, that if Baltimore really wanted to tackle, you know, we talked a little bit about that chance to, you know, deal both those first to Minnesota to, you know, first for the first and second could have been in play. And the Ravens I assume if they were interested, would have made the call. So it'll be interesting to see the value. But I think it maybe tells you a little bit of something about the Ravens' willingness to wait at this point.
I saw one of the viewers ask, when do you start getting antsy? And I think that's starting to happen for me right now, to be honest. I'm starting to feel like, and what was the spot that we had? What would we have to, or if we gave up a 3rd round pick?
Yeah, if you give up number 94, you move up to 21, right?
21.
Dan?
So yeah, that's a spot I'm really looking at right now. So we creep into it. But yeah, what are the Jets doing? That's a mystery right now.
What are the Jets doing?
What are the Jets doing? Joe Douglas.
To me, it has to be an edge guy. They want to get their top edge. Maybe it's Phillips. Maybe it's Ajulari. Is that how you pronounce it? I think everybody has a different board when it comes to these edge guys, defensive end prospects. Maybe Kwity Paye. But I think that might be what they're looking at here.
It feels like it's got. I mean, if it's got to be Phillips or Paye. If they're moving up this far for that pick.
It feels like the edges have been out there longer than any draft I can remember.
Yep.
I mean, usually one goes in the top 5, 6, 7.
But if Joe Douglas comes from the Ravens kind of school, the Ravens have not invested a lot of 1st round draft picks on edge since
Terrell Suggs.
Yeah.
Last one.
So, and that may not have anything to do with how they value them, and in this draft, if the Ravens were in, a different position, they might do otherwise, but it doesn't seem like they've, Suggs might have allowed them not to have to put the same kind of value on it too.
So I got the trade information in.
Great. Let's bring
so
it
the
up here.
The Vikings traded the 14th pick, as well as the 143rd pick, to the Jets for the 23rd pick, the 66th pick, and the 86th pick.
Wow.
They paid. So the Vikings paid 96 cents on the dollar, so just a little bit better. Pretty spot on though, and pretty marginal difference when it comes down to it. 45 points. So
I love that value for them.
I love that. I love that value for the Jets.
Really?
Getting 23, 66, and 86.
No,
yeah.
the Jets gave up that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. I love what the Vikings got. Yeah, I think we're in agreement that.
Yep.
That looks like a DaCosta trade right there. Pick up 46, and also you get later, so the flatter valuations favor you. It's just, that's a great haul of picks for 14 and 143.
Man, who do they like that much? And especially with the Patriots picking next, I mean, that surprises me. We're all captivated to see who the pick's going to be.
I know, right?
I also wonder if this leads
AVT.
to. I wonder if the Patriots are going to trade back out of this next spot too, or be looking to potentially.
They could take a quarterback too.
AVT is the pick out of USC. So, outstanding guard, certainly the best interior lineman in this draft. Tell us about it, Jason.
Well, I love Elijah Vera Tucker. I think that he could play 4 spots on the line. Not sure if he snapped the ball at all. 4 spots on the line. Great feet, great adjustment when he does get crossed up. Great at picking up blitzes, stunts. There's really not a lot of negatives on him. The only one is the arm length, where he couldn't stick at tackle, and maybe some of the reach blocks that you talk about, Ken, at right guard might be a problem for him. But he has also the body control when he's not square, where he can just hold the block. Tremendous core strength, it seems like, where he's not top heavy and can recover quickly. But I'd say a complete player, very complete player. Surprised that he went before Darisaw, because Darisaw is a pure tackle. But I can't complain about that. I'm surprised they traded up for a guard, though. I mean, I'm sure the people in New York are going to be talking about that on the talk shows.
It's kind of too bad this draft isn't in New York like it always used to be when the Jets fans would be going insane. This is a good one.
It's a lot of value to give up for a guard.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing I want to point out is that the Vikings over the last 10 years have the most trade backs out of any team. So they have 28 trade backs, and the next highest is the Patriots for 24. So that's pretty impressive.
It is impressive.
Trade backs. So
you have to offset that, of course, with trading to get Kari Vedvik from the Ravens.
How many? Do you have the number out? How many times the Ravens have traded back handy, Dan?
Yeah, 10.
Just 10.
10 times.
You know, people talk about the Ravens trading back like it's a given. Every year we head into draft season, they're like, "Oh, the Ravens are gonna trade out of the first. The Ravens are gonna trade back. The Ravens are gonna trade back." I'm surprised to hear it's that few.
Well, one of the reasons that can fuel more trading back is having more draft capital, because the higher your pick is in the first round, the more times you can trade back on that single pick. The Miami Dolphins or the Jets or the Jacksonville, who's sitting on 3,000 to 5,000 worth of draft capital, where the Ravens have 1,600 this year, are in a much better position to pick up later picks if that's the route they choose to go.
Yeah, and just to point out, 10 is a pretty decently high number. That's the 12th highest, so it's still in the top half, almost top third. Across 10, that's one a year pretty much, but it's just insane how many times the Vikings have done it. So it's pretty wild.
New England's pick is at the podium right now. Belichick getting the process speeded up here a little bit.
I think QB maybe?
We want this big, right?
I think QB.
Come on.
I think QB.
After this, I got a question for you guys for the Ravens.
Yeah, this is one of the picks you get really worried about, isn't it?
It is.
Right here.
But an unathletic quarterback for the Patriots running that system, I'm just hoping.
Hopefully, also eliminating them if they take a quarterback from wanting to trade for Aaron Rodgers too.
Oh, mercy.
Mac Jones of Alabama is
There you go.
the selection.
There we go. Thank you, football gods.
Well,
although watch, he's going to be a problem for us. But
a lot of people were talking about how they would trade up for in order to get him. So that's a pretty good steal for them. To get their quarterback at 15. That's pretty legit. So, but I think they got a ways to go.
So I got the numbers back on my board there. The first 10 guys that I have listed are gone. Darisaw's out there at number 11. I have Phillips at 14. And then from there, it's been pretty straight up draft. Now, the one guy that I'd actually like to get your opinions on is Terrace Marshall, who I have higher. I have a feeling he's going to be out there. He's going to be by himself on that board. But I just see him as the perfect inside-outside fit for Lamar Jackson. And I love the fact that he produced with an all-star team around him. And I love the fact that the next year he produced with not very, very little around him. So Terrace Marshall is my guy. I'm wondering why I'm out there by myself.
I saw a heat map of his routes at LSU, and it looked very optimal for what the Ravens like to do and how Lamar likes to throw over the middle of the field. The routes he ran and kind of where he was going seemed like it could be a fit. So, but if the Ravens like him as much as you do and everyone else doesn't, would they trade back for him anyway?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I think he's my fifth favorite wide receiver. I mean, let's not talk about the top three. I have Bateman, and then Marshall. I think Marshall has a size that you really like. I mean, he's basically the same size and athleticism as Miles Boykin, like the same kind of athletic profile. I think he is a lot more kind of jump ball, contested catch above the rim than Boykin has. So I think he really fits what Ravens need at a wide receiver, and that's why I'm pretty high on him too. I would say, if if you can get him at 27, if he's there, I wouldn't trade up for him, but I'll definitely consider it if he's the top wide receiver there at that point.
Yeah, would you if he's still at 27, would you take the risk and get the edge you need or get the tackle you maybe need at 27? Would you even reach for a tackle before you drafted Marshall at 27, even if you thought he was spot on for value there?
It would depend on what the board looks like. I think if Jenkins is there, I would go tackle first and then hope that I can get Marshall at 31. But that, I mean, I don't know if Darrisaw would fall that far. Possibly he will. He might be one of those, draft day followers that happens, and the Ravens can scoop him up too. But I would, if there's a top tackle, I would take him first. But then I think Marshall is a good target to take at 31. Then
I want to say one more thing about Darrisaw's medical here, and I'm forgetting the exact nature of the thing, but if this fits into the Ravens' ability to wait a year. Darrisaw is just a fine tackle prospect, period. And if the Ravens can afford to wait a year with having Alejandro Villanueva fill the spot for a year, great. Then you can take a tackle at 27 and you get one less year on his rookie deal. That's true, but you get a quality tackle at that point. I think it'd be great. I think we would be happy if we see continued concern with his medical.
Yeah, and what about if it's Phillips or Darrisaw? You got two guys with injury concerns that are, I think that's possible in the sense that in this draft, without teams being able to come in and do the same medical evaluations, do you see some guys the Ravens wouldn't usually consider for injury reasons put on the map potentially in a different way?
Yeah, certainly possible. It was one of the things I noticed about the big board that Jason had was that his two medicals were up near the top now. So it's not out of the question. And Phillips, I think, is in terms of being a pure pass rusher, I really like him the most of them in this draft. I mean, he's the guy who has a absolutely top shelf head fake with a half step he'll take to the outside. You just don't see it really anywhere. It creates a problem because it's polish, and obviously polish is value that's already been realized at the college level. But like that move so much that I put him at the top of my pass rushers. The problem is, of course, multiple concussions already, and how serious is that problem for somebody in the NFL? I think if it was 4 years ago, no one would have touched him. With the way people felt about concussions.
Did you see his swim move too, Ken, to get in the passing lane? With him, he's like this. He's in the passing lane, so the ball out quick. Jalen Phillips is your guy to get a hand up. It's like one jet step, swim, and he's gone.
Yeah, great use of length to go with that. You're right, and that's it's you don't see it in every edge rusher, and all these guys who are trying to get by with the bull rush move, or even the ones who have a good cross chop to the outside. I don't think it's quite as devastating as the combination of using length, like you're saying, and being able to just head fake a tackle right out of his pants.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I have pay a little lower than others, is because it's a lot of side to side with him. His explosiveness is there, but I mean, in today's quick passing game, I like Phillips' style a lot better, his style of rush.
And the Cardinals could definitely go edge or tackle here. So it'll be interesting to see. Picks in.
Okay, I see it on my TV.
They've already taken Zaven Collins.
Yep.
That's
all right.
I'd say the first of these kind of semi-surprises. He's a little early. Probably was going to go before the Ravens at 27, but not definitely. So that's
the first edge.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you call him an edge. I might call him an inside linebacker, but I did have him on my edge list.
The thing I find most interesting about this is they took Isaiah Simmons last year. So now you have two hybrid players on the same defense. You can move around anywhere, but they didn't get the most out of Simmons going by his grades last year. So
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to respond to that. We've seen a lot of inside linebackers have a lousy first year in the NFL. Both of the two Devons. Well, Devin Bush was still pretty good, but he was below where a lot of people expected to be. Devin White was really bad in his first year and came on to be great now. So, that hasn't been an issue. We hope the same thing happens with Patrick Queen, because he certainly didn't have a particularly good rookie year. So we're hoping for that kind of growth. But I think you're right that having two inside linebackers like that, it's good in some sense, it's bad in another, is that they're going to pay blue chip money for those two players where they should be playing a safety to play that spot on passing downs.
I find that very interesting to have two players that don't have a true position. Well, two players you can move around, but where is Simmons best? I don't think we found out last year. Mm-hmm. Zaven Collins seems more like a traditional 3-down linebacker that you could have. I like them more, playing some edge for the Ravens. So maybe that allows Simmons to move around. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
I think he's like the Reddick replacement. Oh, sorry.
No,
I was going to say he's replacing Reddick for them, I think. Like kind of the guy who can do a little bit of rushing off the edge, like Sam kind of player. He can drop into coverage. He can play off the ball. He can line up as a blitzer. I think he can do a lot of things. But he's a little different, like physical kind of profile. He's a lot bigger. And maybe that's why they like him. So they can pair someone with that size next to someone like Simmons, who's a little more rangy and a little more slimmer in size.
They do like those kind of hybrid-y players. That seems to be what Arizona is gunning for in their defensive selections.
Sarah, we haven't heard from you in a while. How's this first round playing out for you?
Sorry about that. We are having internet connection issues. I'm shocked. This is one of the few computers in the home that's still working correctly. So I'm trying not to jinx it. But I lost my whole setup here. I had everything set up with the board and everything, so I was just catching back up. I was trying to fix it, but coming back in, I feel like I'm going to jinx it, aren't I? I feel like it's falling in a pretty good way for the Ravens. You've got 5 quarterbacks there. That's good. We got them gone, so those have all been used up. Zaven the Raven would have been great, but I'm still good with him being gone. So I'm just, I feel like the trade up for you guys may have mentioned this, Elijah Vera Tucker, that, to me, he projects inside. I'm looking for a tackle. So anyway, I'm trying not to jinx it, but so far it's I feel like the Ravens are going to have a pick of a lot of good guys, and it's only setting up for maybe wanting to trade back with that 31. So.
Well, we're coming up on a minute on one of the picks that traditionally has been a wild card from the Oakland Raiders or from the Las Vegas Raiders. Now the pick is in, so that's good. They didn't trade it. That gives them a chance to still fumble the football here. But I tell you who I want to see come off the board is one of the 2 running backs as soon as possible. If the Steelers are really going to draft Najee at 24, then we got to get Travis Etienne off the board as well.
Yeah, but the Raiders aren't going to take another running back, are they? Let me set up the reverse jinx the other way around then.
Yes, that's the way to do it. There you go.
Remember, my wild card here is Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes, a second rounder everywhere, but he's got plenty of speed. So that would be my wild card for the Raiders here.
That would be a Mayock pick if ever there was one.
Yeah.
And by the way, Stokes apparently is 6'1" listed at his height. I was looking it up after we had the discussion earlier.
So almost 6'2", almost.
My bet is JOK. That's my guess.
Any non-edge, non-tackle, I think here is positive for the Ravens because it takes
That's
another.
That's what I'm
team.
nervous about. I'm thinking that they might want to tackle.
So then they probably won't do that because they're.
Yeah, exactly.
How about Trevon Merrick here? What would you think about that?
I think that could fit.
ESPN has the best fit. Yeah.
He's definitely mocked to the Raiders earlier. This pick may be out there already. By the way, we may already been saying things that are happening. But
who's the best leader in the draft? Because they're big on leadership there with the Cleveland Farrell and all that stuff. Maybe a Landon Dickerson or something. He's lauded for his.
They like players who played in the championship games, so maybe.
Or they could grab another guy out of Last Chance U and see how that works out again. The guy didn't want to show up the first day of practice when they were on Hard Knocks, and he was cut right away.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's interesting. I think Kuiper had the Jets trading up for Vera Tucker in his mock.
Ooh.
Wow, that's a major
That's your
stretch.
guy, isn't it,
Alex
Ken?
Leatherwood. Yes, that's bad. That's really bad. This could start the run on Tackers because it's a major stretch from probably top of the second round, end of the first round to go and pick number what that'll do to the tackle market the rest of the way down. But that's the Raiders going for a little bit better arm length than what's available otherwise, and avoiding the Darisaw medicals.
I mean, you say it's bad, but maybe it's good because that's someone who I thought wasn't going to go in the first round. I thought he was more of a round 2 kind of prospect. That's just my personal grade on him, but that might be a bit of a reach, and maybe that is something about Darisaw that the medicals are showing up, and he's not someone whose teams are going to take on in the first round. But it can't be the worst thing in the world to have someone I wasn't expecting go in front of the Ravens to go there.
Okay, well, here's my thought about it, and then you guys, I want to hear what you guys have to say. But Leatherwood basically fit the necessary physical characteristics, and I didn't think they were going to have to go past 31 to get him. So I thought he was the good guy that you can take whatever position you want at 27. You can take Merrick, you can take an edge, you can even take a wide receiver if you want to do that. But you then have the ability to take Leatherwood at 31, or maybe trade down. But Leatherwood is your floor on what you get at that point. So I really liked that, and now this makes me more unsure. I'd much rather have a position the Ravens didn't need, obviously, ahead of a guy that might have slipped into the top of the second round otherwise.
Ken, correct me if I'm wrong. When I listened to your offensive tackle preview, didn't you have Leatherwood number 2 or something like that?
Yeah, I had him high, and I'll bring it up here for a second. Let me get my list out. Yeah, I had Leatherwood number 2 on my list. You know, I had Darisaw down there at 4 on that set because I felt things about the medical were not right. And I had other things, like I had Slater number 6 because I think he really ends up at guard. And I think you want a tackle only kind of prospect for a Ravens only board. So I'm not saying that's bad pick for the Vikings are the ones who end up getting Slater, right? Is that correct?
Chargers.
Chargers end up getting Slater. I'm not saying it's a bad pick for them because it's a they might be okay with him moving to guard, but I don't think the Ravens can be that way.
So just one more thing about Leatherwood. So I kind of pegged him as a guard because he has the arm length, but I'm not sure he has the feet to play tackle really well. I don't see the quick feet, the slide that you want to see from an offensive tackle. And I think he did play some guard for Bama because of that. I mean, they were loaded at offensive line. They could put anybody anywhere and probably still have the best offensive line in college football. But that was my concern about Leatherwood. And he had longer arms. He had long enough arms. They weren't they were still under 34-inch though. So to me, that's a little bit of a stretch. But I can see what you're saying as he's kind of the safe pick there that you can probably say it would be a reliable option for you there at the end of the first.
I think there are two things going on here. That one I think I see because I think I've heard 33 7/8 for Leatherwood, but I have on my chart of what I was going to say on the OT pod, I had 34 3/8. You giving me the thumbs up on that, Jason?
I thought it was longer. I thought he was in the 34s.
Yeah. So, but there have been some double stepping here with some of these tackles in terms of different arm lengths being reported. Tevin Jenkins being one of the big ones, by the way, guys. That his arm length was reported, and it was just done, I think, on Twitter at under 33 inches, and he comes in at 33 and a half this year at his pro day.
Bring back the combine. I mean, we need it.
To answer what you had to say, though, Gabe, I think you're right that I don't see the great feet. It's certainly not an elite mirror. I see more of a Ricky Wagner right tackle that gets you to the back pylon, and I actually think that's what the Ravens need. They need a guy who can make that easy block when they down block, move to level 2 to hit the scraping linebacker, and they need a guy who can just get you to the back pylon and give Lamar a chance to get out of that pocket and make some hay. We didn't have another
pick.
Sorry, guys. We had multiple picks in?
No, I think just the Dolphins.
Just the Dolphins.
Okay, so Jalen Phillips goes off the board at number 18. That's a bummer.
Staying home in Florida.
If you like Tevin Jenkins.
I was just going to say, Ken, so we started talking earlier about, the 94th pick would bring the 27th up to the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting to look around that range. The Giants are in the 20th. So 21st is still the Colts, who might look offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So you start thinking 20th pick, 22nd pick, you could skip a bunch of people that want tackles, right? You got the Colts, you got the Vikings. So, I just start thinking about the Ravens potentially moving up.
What's the extra change beyond number 94? What pick of the Ravens would create the extra value necessary to get from 21 to 20?
126. So it'd be 94 and maybe 131.
Okay. That's a lot to give up.
And there's still 2 tackles on the board too. So we have Darisaw is still sitting there. We don't know if he's on the Ravens board because of medicals, but theoretically there's 2 tackles. You have Darisaw and Jenkins. So that gives us a little bit of flexibility to be able to be patient and wait.
Yeah, there are too many guys that aren't necessarily tackle that I like on the board kind of in general right now for me to want to see the Ravens deal that much capital to move up.
Yeah.
I mean, how much? We're what? So we're at 8, 9 picks away now. Is that right?
9 to go.
9 to go. So Morig's still there if you like him. You've got the 2 tackles. You've got Bateman. You've got
Christian
at
Barmore.
least 3 edge guys you might like.
An unusual pick.
How about the edge players too? Ojulari and Rousseau still out there.
Yeah.
And Basham, who's my positional favorite. That's why he's got the star there. Basham reminds me of a Pernell McPhee, who's a big edge that you can move on the inside, just absolutely violent hands. He's very polished too. He's somebody I think could step into the rotation right away. So you're right, Jordan. There's a lot of great players on the board for us stacked up here. But that tackle is kind of like the last $5 bill holding burning a hole in my pocket. Like I would really like to have that taken care of.
Wait, I mean, do the Ravens need to start thinking developmental tackle at this point? They're one of the teams that can afford to do so. So does even Spencer Brown enter the equation at 31?
I think I try to trade back and maybe get someone like Spencer Brown. And who knows if that's an option. We've seen a lot of teams trade back, but I don't know if that's something that's going to be available at the end of the first round. Generally, that's like a good place to trade back because teams might want that 5th-year option. But I think that would be where I'll be looking at if I can get that a little bit more value and take a player in the 2nd round. And then you can still get a player you like Brown and not give the first round pick for him.
So we want to see guys like Newsome, the other corners, maybe Asante Samuel Jr. coming off early,
Farley.
Farley. Just thinking about some of these guys that'll let the Ravens have a dearth of choices between edge, tackle, and wide receiver when it gets to their pick. If you get the guy you really love out of that group at 27, Ken, then I mean, if you can't trade back at 31 for the guy you like, but there's a developmental tackle project that you really like and you ended up with a wide receiver or edge, I'm going to be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 non-standard positions, the one that's nobody's talking about them drafting is safety, which I think people admit is kind of a need. And if they had Merrick available, I don't mind that pick if that's what ends up. And Christian Barmore, there just aren't any good defensive linemen in this draft, or there's a very, very small number. He's head and shoulders above the others. And if he were drafted at either 27 or 31, would go a long way towards addressing the age on that defensive line for the Ravens.
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Sean's question here?
I think he's a developmental guard for the Ravens. That's my opinion.
And I say developmental tackle. So I'm on the other side of that one. But developmental something. We need to see more. Hopefully this training camp does him a lot of good. I mean, I don't think that, not everybody is a quick learner, can pick it up, the speed of the game, even OTAs, just to see the guys flying around going against the Ravens defense, which is complex. Maybe that'll really help Tyree. So he's got the physical skills, but just looked like things moved too fast for him last year.
I agree. It did not seem that he was physically overwhelmed. It just seemed like mentally he wasn't there, and it created huge breakdowns in big moments because of that. So I think that made it look worse potentially than it was. But if those continue, then he's unplayable. I mean,
I think he needs a lot of technique work too, and that can come with kind of the OTAs training camp. I don't know how much the Ravens are going to have in terms of in-person OTA, so maybe we'll miss out a little bit on that. But I think there's definitely some need there for him to improve. mostly with his upper body kind of technique with his hands. He has length, but he doesn't use it well.
Yeah, his Ravens have got the best coaches, and Dallas Sanders is a wonderful footwork teacher in particular. If you look at the footwork they've gotten out of center, I think he does a real good job with pulls. That may be someplace where he has to pick it up in the offseason with some position-specific coaching. We've seen him post some workout videos this offseason, haven't we? On Twitter?
Is that Tyree?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyree has. Yep. Yeah, he's been working hard. Yeah, I've seen a couple videos of him. So.
Oh, there's a good one for us.
Very good one. So
yes,
linebacker, Jamin Davis of Kentucky taken at number 19 by the Redskins. Definitely a very positive pick for the Ravens.
Surprised they went defense.
Where was he on your board, Jason?
He's number 48. If you wanted to bring it up, I'm about to delete it now so you can see exactly where he is. But he's the first player taken that I had as a solid day 2 talent. Thought he could sneak into the first, but it's beautiful to see it. He's a downhill, could only be a 2-down linebacker in my opinion, but a very physical player. He's best going just straight downhill. I mean, we don't have the highlights, but I'm sure they're showing it now. He's an athlete. He's an athlete.
Similar position as JOK, right?
No, I would say JOK is a more well-rounded player. You could probably play him a couple of more positions. Jamin Davis, I see as just strictly an off-ball linebacker. And like you said, I worry that he's a 2-down player.
I guess I'm just surprised that he was taken ahead of JOK.
Me too.
I am too. He reminds me of Kenneth Murray from last year, who I thought was kind of the same kind of athletic profile, very kind of linear athlete, can fly downhill, look good in terms of like making some splash plays, but you don't want to move him.
So you have to really start wondering what's going on with Darrisaw, though, at this point.
Yeah.
That would be such a quintessential Ravens pick, though, where everybody gets scared off the last moment. He's the only guy left that you on your board where he's a first rounder any year. And that's just so I mean, we're still 6 picks away. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he could still go, but you got him and Jenkins still there, along with a boatload of edge rushers. But that's so quintessential Ravens that you just stay patient. And what did I read in Peter King's Monday Morning Quarterback? He said that when the Ravens traded with the Chiefs, he said they view the 31st pick more like the 20th pick, because year after year after year, somebody who's ranked, maybe 8-9 picks low, like it falls to them. Mm-hmm. So if Darrisaw does fall, I mean, that's just quintessential. Everybody gets scared off and the Ravens benefit.
This is interesting because
really helped. Go ahead.
Take a look at the big board a second here for the second, Jason, because let's look at this solely from the Ravens' perspective. And who are the players, the 7 players now that are going to be drafted still, who, if they won in front, we'd be most upset about them losing. And you still end up with the Ravens getting a good player. I think we'd be very upset if Darrisaw was off the board now. I'd put Barmore in that same category right now, but I'm not even sure he's in my top 7 right now. Marshall, I think, represents approximate value for 27, so I wouldn't put him in the group. Jenkins, I'm not 100% sure I'd put him in the group. Rousseau, I wouldn't put in the group. Ojulari, I would, so that's 3. Bateman, that's 4. Kwity Paye was somebody a lot of people thought we'd have to trade up to get. I think I might put him in that group. Merrig probably would be a guy. Well, I think he represents very good value at 27. Trying to think of who else is in this group. I mean, there's probably 5 to 6 guys that if any one of them were to drop, I'd be very excited.
I'm with you. I mean, I see a lot of talent right there on the board. And it didn't take much. It took a Jamin Davis, and I forget who else I had lower there on the board that jumped out below Creed Humphrey there at the 34 spot.
Leatherwood, probably.
That was Leatherwood, yes. So it didn't take much. 2 picks that were out of my range. And, I mean, my goodness. I mean, if you could pick any 2 names out of the top 27 there and be really happy if those ended up being, if we didn't trade, if those were our 2 picks.
I'm going to go ahead and go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, here's another question. Is there anybody on there, knowing that you've got good value to wait. But is there anybody on there that you'd be willing to trade up right now for just maybe 3 or 4 spots?
If it's one of the tackles, if Darisaul's clear or Jenkins is clear, I put them priority even over Barmore at this point, just because of the need. If I had to switch it right now, maybe I put Jenkins ahead of Barmore, even though Barmore I think is the BPA, is the so-called BPA.
Jenkins has been.
Like if we wanted to move up, sorry, Sarah, Dan, if we wanted to move up like 4 or 5 spots, what's the trade value on that? I mean, if it's like a 5th or a 6th, I guess that doesn't bother me.
Oh, it's more than that. If we move up to the 22nd, it would take the 100th pick, so 104 for us, or 96 depending. If we wanted to do something like the 24th pick, it'd be 117. So it's always around, even just to the 26th pick is 175. So even just to move up 1 spot would take
50 points. Pick number 175, right? Okay.
Yeah, I don't love that. I mean, with like you were saying, Ken, when you read off those names off the board, I would rather wait. And I think when we're looking at the Giants pick here, and you've got Minnesota coming up, those are the 2 spots where I think you might see the tackle come off. So if Darisaul lasts through those 2 guys, I think the Ravens have a great shot at 27 to tackle.
Yeah.
If they take tackles there, I think the Ravens are going to have a great shot at a good edge player at 27. I would wait.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, right now, if I had to say pick a player who's good that I still would like to see on the game, I'd pick somebody like Marshall. I'd love to see Marshall come off the board at this point in terms of what additional value it would give the Ravens. I'd certainly love to see either of those running backs come off, or even maybe Farley, where the Ravens are less likely to take a chance on a medical at corner. Although somebody's going to get freaking great value on Farley at this point in the draft, right?
They are. And another 2 guys, Kadarius Toney, Rondell Moore, it's just a fit for, it's not a great fit for us. Might be a great fit for another team. So I could see Kadarius Toney or Rondell Moore coming off, another possibility of a guy coming off before we pick that would help.
Kadarius Toney is off the board. That's just a wonderful pick for the Ravens.
Yep. There he is.
Yes.
Right on time. One for Jason. One for Jason.
You had him at 31 on your board, so definitely a positive for starters when number 31 gets taken and you have the 27th and 31st pick. But certainly in the Ravens' position currently, I think it'd be hard to disagree that that's a good result.
Where was he on your big board here?
I just took him off. He was at 31, right in between Jason Oweh and Trevor Merrick right there.
I had no desire for Toney. This makes me so happy.
I mean, it feels like edge or tackle or wide receiver. I mean, the Ravens have to be feeling great right now, both about their trade for Brown and the 27th pick.
You don't think they could end up taking 2 edges here at 27 and 31, do you? Because the player could be available. This is just crazy.
The right 2 are available.
Why not? Go for it.
It's certainly a dearth of talent on the team. They get a 1-year landing strip with a player like McPhee in place right now. Hell, McPhee might be a good player 4 years from now.
But if Darisaul, Jenkins, Bateman, Marshall are all off the board, and all the other edges are still left, that won't happen. But if they're all still left, I could see the Ravens taking the 2 guys that they like the best.
Yeah, if they end up with Ojulari and Pay, would anybody be upset about that, really?
It'd be hard to be upset, but I'm sure there are a lot of Lamar supporters out there who would be screaming for some O-line or wide receiver help. But, man, that would be exciting for the defense. I mean, we've had a hard time getting pass rush even when Judon was here, and it would be an exciting day if we did do that, but very controversial, I'm sure.
I think they trade back in that instance if that's what it was, where they were sitting on.
What would be, I mean, I am inundated already on Twitter with fans talking about how they don't feel like the Ravens support Lamar, which is silly because
I haven't done it
You just paid $100 million for his left tackle. They're saving up for both him and Mark Andrews. They've drafted the most wide receivers the last 3 years of any team, or nobody's more than them. They're tied with others. So, however, it just made me think when Breer said that the Ravens were looking to maybe trade up and also trade back in 31. I mean, it would be nice if you got Kwity Paye at 27. I did not think he'd be there. I didn't think he'd make it really this long. I mean, we'll see. But if Kwity Paye's there, then you trade back, and then you can make Ravens fans happy and maybe get Rashad Bateman, because I think he's been overvalued by our fan base. Whereas somebody like, you look at these top 50 boards, somebody like, I don't know where you have him, but Daniel Jeremiah has him at 41 right now, Rashad Bateman. So if you trade back, and then you're kind of satisfying that. But I'm surprised there's a lot of great picks I didn't think was going to be here. So there's lots of good choices.
Every year really is the same, isn't it?
It's the same.
And I'm surprised Moring's still on the board. He's I think he's the X factor, that if they get to 27 and he's still there, if the Ravens like him, they could use a true free safety.
We talked about that a little bit in our last podcast, Jordan, and I think the safety position has been devalued in a major way in the NFL. And I also think there's a lot of early safety picks who don't pan out. And if you look at the starters across the league right now, it's a lot of mid, late, undrafted players who are the best safeties. And I think you can wait and you find someone who's intelligent and has some athleticism, and you can plug them in and not spend an early pick. That said, I think Merrick's a very good player, and he's a great fit for what the Ravens need. I'm just not sure he's a player that I would put as a first rounder, especially with some of the cornerbacks. I think they're still on the board. I think I'd rather go cornerback, honestly, with the value of that position. That's just my opinion.
I think I would agree, and certainly Ozzie has shown he can always get that dime safety very easily with a 6th-round pick. Graduated, starting strong safety, free safety, really can play either one and lead the defense. Elliott was a 6th-round pick. He met the thing. But I think if you're looking for that pure free safety ball hawk, you almost always have to go to the 1st round or 2nd round to get him. And Merrick, I think, would fill the bill in the way that Elam did not. Elam was a strong safety, a hitter.
Absolutely.
He didn't make any sense in that sense. And Ed Reed, of course, did.
And yeah, even just thinking about where the Colts are going to go with this pick, I think they seem like the spot for Paye. If at this point, if they don't take an edge or they don't take Paye, I wonder whether he starts to slide. I mean, I think we're starting to get close to the Steelers are coming up. They've been rumored around running back a lot. Looking at some of these, who else is up here? I mean, the Titans aren't going to take a running back, obviously.
The Steelers, maybe. Darisaw to the Colts seems like a fairly reasonable choice. I mean, it was certainly one of the things that was projected as kind of a safety net for him at 21.
Did Costanzo retire? Anthony Costanzo, did he retire? Is that?
I think that's right.
Okay, because
they also lost to Malik Hooker, didn't they?
Oh, their safety, yeah.
Yeah.
So if they go Paye or Darisaw here, either way, I wonder if one of the other guys can fall into a little bit of a slide.
Yeah.
And then, depending on what the Ravens, their temperature is on Jenkins, I know, Ken, you're not as hot on him. Gabe has talked about he's one of Gabe's favorite players at tackle.
I would say I'm in the middle on him. I'm a little bit concerned about things I've seen, but I think he'll stick a tackle. That's the good news. And I think he'll stick a tackle in the Ravens system, which is really important.
And you've got this idea that you're going to see somebody that somebody else liked a lot sliding to 27. I mean, it almost seems impossible now that that's not going to happen. The Steelers could be the wild card. I mean, I think if they don't take like Etienne or Harris, then that's kind of a pick that we were counting on not being a competitive spot for the Ravens.
How do we feel as divisional rivals if the Steelers grab a top running back? For me, I like it.
Love it. Everybody's
like, go ahead.
Rashard Mendenhall.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think though having a back like Harris specifically would kind of force them to change their style, and I kind of like their style right now, where they don't have any commitment to the running game, because it's hard to win like that. I mean, So if they drafted a Harris and now all of a sudden they're running Najee 20 times a game, that might not be the best thing for the Ravens. But taking a running back ahead of us, I could, can't complain about that, of course.
Yeah, especially if it means they're not taking one of the edge guys that the Ravens could potentially want.
Now, I don't want to face any of those guys.
Yeah, you want to see Newsome probably come off the board here in the next few picks and not be a guy. I mean, that's also an interesting question for the Ravens of whether or not if the one of the top corners does slide, is that something they're going to consider at 27?
They're very old at the position, so there are reasons why they do it. Here we go.
We're all talking less now because the stakes are rising.
Kwity Paye, Michigan. So definitely a guy that the Ravens would have, potentially drafted at 27, certainly off the board. So still got both tackles. We got edge guys, 3 of them still pretty good ones. If you want to count Basham in that group, along with Ojulari and Rousseau. Still got Barmore.
Yeah. And Koromoa, too.
Koromoa is a wild card. I mean, if there's anybody that you want to say plays like a Raven, his highlight tape, you don't have to watch a lot of film. Just watch the highlight tape. It's fun. And Ken, he's one of those guys that he comes into the screen when he's not supposed to be. Yeah, you watch enough football from the TV angle, and you're like, where did that guy come from? That's Owusu Koromoa. He flashes in the screen. You have to rewind it and see where he was before the snap and wonder how he got there. But yeah, we're set up nice.
Of the edge rushers that are left, what's everybody's favorite? I think I like Ojulari.
Yeah, me too. And then Rousseau.
I agree. I think Ojulari is the top one of those that are left. I would say OA next for me, just because he has that immense upside and he's a really good run defender.
I like OA to slide though. I'd say I mean I would be fine with the Ravens adding him to the team, but he feels like a guy that's going to slide in the draft.
Sorry, who did you say?
OA?
Yeah. Oh, OA, yeah. There's some positions that I like taking traits and aren't overblown by production like a tight end, but it's like the opposite with edge, because tight ends can like really dominate on the college scene, and sometimes that production can be I don't know, I just look at traits there more, but with edge it's so hard not to look at productions. And
right?
The Ravens, and so OA was in lots of mocks, but that one scares me big time.
I think history is prioritizing guys that have the sacks too,
Yeah,
so
that's true. I'd like to see them potentially trade back out of 31 and maybe draft someone like Peyton Turner or Joe Tryon in the second round.
Yeah.
I think that would be an ideal combination of value and upside.
Peyton Turner, if they could somehow get him at 94, that'd be my dream in this draft. That would be my dream. Obviously, they don't have a second round pick, so they'd have to trade down otherwise to get him.
I think we're going to end up with a second round pick before this is all over. I really do. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to be tempting, but there's just so many guys on the board right now that, I mean, if we trade down into the mid 30s, even we're still going to get a great player.
I mean, is Farley or Newsome going to fall here? One of the two of them. I mean, I'm guessing Minnesota is going to take a tackle if I'm looking at that. If, let's say, Pittsburgh still takes Harris for whatever reason, you're Jacksonville and Cleveland in front of them. I guess either of them could take a corner, but it's possible one or both of them are there when the Ravens pick at 27.
So anybody believe that Cleveland will not necessarily is a good chance not to take an edge, or do you think, given that how their contract is worked with Jadeveon Clowney, that they might be in rental mode?
I think they're more likely to take edge.
Yeah, me too. I think Tennessee might take a corner. Tennessee
definitely cornerback. I mean I can't see it sitting well with Rabel the way his defense was ranked last year and let him down. And if they're going to play grinded out football and play action passes, I have a feeling that Vrabel, being an ex-linebacker, is really going to want to stack up this defense early in the draft.
Now Titans lost Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
This offseason, right? So, I think wide receiver could be in play.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think the corners, if I was looking at this board and kind of looking at who's picking, I think, and you were like, someone asked me who's the position that's going to slide. It feels like corner is going to be that position now.
Newsome's an interesting guy. I didn't have quite the confidence in him as a player, medicals aside, as I did for Farley. And when I look at the players that I have ranked above him, it's just a confidence. It's a higher floor for those players with just as good of a ceiling, in my opinion, which is why I have Newsome down there at 28, 29, I believe it is. But look at the dearth of tackles there, and Barmore just sitting there at the bottom there at number 17. I mean, my goodness, he sticks out as he could be an all-pro at his position. He's just sitting right there.
He's so far and away the best defensive lineman in this draft. It's crazy to think he might be available at 27, but I think he'd be a good pick.
So that's someone the Browns could look at taking too. I'm trying to remember. I don't feel as though the interior of their defensive line is as good as the outside.
I think they lost Ogunjobi to Cincinnati. And didn't Richardson recently leave? That might be a good point.
He's off the books. I mean, I'm on there over the cap site, and he's on their dead money. So
yeah. So they lost, I think, two of their big pieces on the inside. So Barmore does make a lot of sense for Cleveland.
Malik Jackson new for them this year?
Yeah. They
there
got him
now.
in free agency.
He's
But
there now,
let Sheldon
so.
Richardson go.
But they can't. You wouldn't be expecting anything hugely significant there. You can tell how interesting what could happen and what we're all looking for based on how much we're all watching our TV screens.
Yes.
Not talking to each other right now.
No, this is fascinating. Newsome I'm really looking at again in terms of my thoughts from the cornerback show. And I'm remembering some of the things I really liked about him in terms of improvement year over year and off-ball cornerback skills that kind of remind me of Marcus Peters in terms of being able to potentially learn how to break on the football the same way. He would be a pretty cool pick at 31. I would not be upset if that's the guy they end up with there.
He got his hands on a lot of footballs. Mm-hmm. Now, he didn't get the interceptions, but the pass deflections were very impressive.
Right. So it's kind of like doubles off the left field wall at Fenway. Are they going to eventually be lifted into that screen? And I think if the guy learns to break on the football, the hands can come next. It's not like a Humphrey situation where he's really trying to attack the ball after it's caught.
I see it on Twitter. Should I not spoil it?
Yeah.
No, the Titan selection, don't take it. So NFL Network, it comes across Miami reporters and whatnot already have that thing out there early. So
I think Jacksonville will take a corner. Looking at their roster, I'd be if Farley and Newsome are both there, I'd be surprised if they don't take one.
The pick is in. It's Caleb Farley of Virginia Tech. So obviously medical questions be damned. Hell of a cornerback.
Yeah.
Great value.
Yeah.
He sure is.
I think we all had him maybe not we all, but most people had him as cornerback 1 headed into this season. Like he just had a phenomenal 2019. But yeah, not having the film and then the injury, that's why he slipped.
So as someone that doesn't study nearly the film that you guys all do, is Justin Matabuke redundant with Barmore, or are they pretty different on the D-line?
They can both play in a scheme where you use them both on a passing down, so you don't have a problem there. Otherwise, that spot has to be rotational. So while it's not ideal that they would have a lot of overlapping 3-tech snaps, if you get ahead in a game, I'd love to have both of them in there at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Barmore is a little bit more position versatile than Metabike is.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can move around. I think you did see him play a little bit like one technique there for Bama over the center. But I think that ideally they're both more of a through technique interior kind of pass rusher. You can one gap, penetrate. Both. I mean, I think they could definitely work together. Don't get me wrong, especially in the pass rushing situations. You have both of them on the field. That's a pretty dynamic interior pass rush.
And your pass rushing situations are a sliding scale, just like your run study showed, Dan, from what is a year ago now, is that if you have 2nd and 8 as opposed to 2nd and 5, that's a big difference in terms of what personnel you might like to have in the field. So it doesn't have to be an entire package change. It could be a change in 1-for-1, meaning 1 tech for 1 tech, where you might want to have Barmore in on a 2nd and 8 situation, but you might prefer to have Williams in on a 2nd and 4 or 2nd and 5 situation.
Okay. So he'd be able to fill the nose tackle 1 tech spot on a pass heavier down.
On a pass heavier down, where you're basically in the nickel either way.
Cool. Thanks.
So thinking about these tackles, I mean, looking at it a little more closely, I think Pittsburgh also could be in play for taking a tackle instead of a running back, for sure. So all 3 of these next picks could very likely, 2 of the 3 of them could take Jenkins and Darrisaw. But that would leave the Ravens in prime position from an edge perspective. If you like Moehrig as the safety, I mean,
Barmore, lots of other choices.
Yeah, you almost wonder if they trade back at 27 because unless there's a guy they really love in that bunch that, between Bateman and all the edge guys that are there, plus Moehrig, one of them is definitely going to get to 31.
That is one of the questions is in trading 31, maybe somebody really wants that in order to keeping that 50-year option. But it seems like the team that might trade 37 to us to give us the good chance to get the player we want at 37 is also going to be cognizant of the fact that there's a fairly level playing field over those next 7 picks.
Takes 2 for a trade. Yep.
Always.
It's true. Hey, one guy I wanted to ask you guys about, because I know he has a lot of fans here in Baltimore, is Creed Humphrey, who's sitting there. How would you guys feel if, say, our 31st pick, if we stayed and all things equal, if we used one of these picks on Humphrey?
I'll go first. I think it'd be a huge reach. And it's not that I don't like the guy, but I would have loved him at 58 when the Ravens had that pick. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's a reach too. I wouldn't want them to be taking a center at that spot. They're knowing what the board is now, maybe if you were asking this question when the draft started and all the people that we like had gone in all the positions and spots of the guys that we like, Tony and some of these others up to this point, I might have felt differently, but given how it's fallen at this point, I'd be disappointed.
How about Landon Dickerson versus Humphrey? Who would you rather have?
I'm more of a Dickerson guy.
Yeah, if he's healthy, it's Dickerson, but that's a huge risk.
I'm more uncomfortable with the medical risks this year, knowing that teams are pretty frustrated with getting, their hands actually on these prospects. So, I mean, I don't know what information the Ravens have on Dickerson, but I agree. If he's healthy, I'd put him above Humphrey, but Humphrey's a big upgrade also at the center position and probably isn't going to get Lamar concussed. So,
right.
If you get Humphrey, you don't have to move Bozeman. So if you get a guard, you have to move Bozeman, and that carries its own set of risks.
Yeah,
it's true. But usually speaking on my board, when you get to about that part, you want to get a guy 10, 15 slots lower than where you have them on your board, because obviously the needs of other teams are different and they're going to take quarterbacks, running backs. So if I have Humphrey, listed 33rd on my board, that's a guy I'm comfortable taking around 45. I would think that would be where he'd be standing out there alone on my board. Just for me personally.
Okay, the Vikings are in at 23. Boy, it's starting to get exciting. Only 4 picks in front of the Ravens here. So who are we hoping the Vikings take here?
JOK.
How about Eichenberg?
Yeah, OA.
That'd be great.
They definitely don't need a running back, at least for this year. They still have Cook and Madison.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if they went interior O-line here. I know that's something that they have some need at, and that could be pushing a tackle a little bit further down the board for the Ravens.
Or they could be pushing a tackle inside like Jenkins,
It's
or
true.
like Cosme or somebody.
If they like Darisaw and they're able to get him here, the Vikings the front office would have to be over the moon for the haul that they got back from the Jets to get a guy that some people had mocked to or not even being picked or already being picked by the time they get to choose, and they get him here. That'd be great for them.
Darisaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vikings ranked. Is it in? Vikings ranked 28th in sacks last season. So maybe they'll go for a pass
Sacks
rusher
allowed?
here.
Oh no, the Vikings just took Christian Darisaw. They took the tackle.
Dang it.
Yeah, it's bad news.
That's too bad.
So now it's Jenkins or bust for the Ravens.
At tackle, Jenkins or wait. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because they've got other guys they can get later in this draft, developmental guys, and they can't afford to wait a year. So
is it the Steelers next?
It is.
Yep. 24.
Yep.
So we're 3 picks away. We got three guys.
I'm gonna be disgusted if they take Jenkins. Okay. I was already in love with Jenkins and I wanted him. I swear in my life, if they pick Jenkins, I'm gonna be so ticked off. Najee Harris, come on, Steelers.
I feel like you're asking for a Yo Levin as you say it. It's it's about a 1 in 18 chance here. They knew who the Ravens need. I mean, obviously the Ravens have so many needs, they can't cover all of them with this pick, but Jenkins would really close the door in a big way on a big need.
And he's just an aggressive player to have at the point of attack in a right-handed scheme.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just love to have him leading the way on that right side. He reminds me of Marshall Yonder or Jensen or somebody like that. It just enjoys the contact of the game. So
I'm going to hope that side didn't mean anything, Sarah.
No, I'm just thinking it through my head. I'm putting the worst possible scenario in my mind.
Tell me your daughter did something bad there. Tell me something else happened.
I mean, it makes sense for them too, right? So they're the worst offensive rushing team last year. And here's Jenkins. We're all talking about what good of a run blocker he is, plays the whistle. He's a bully out there. I mean, it makes a ton of sense for them. Oh, I hate them.
Fierce rivalry.
And the Ravens
I'm nervous.
Have a nice set of guys to choose from here, though, even if Jenkins is off the board. I mean, Jacksonville's probably going to take somebody in the secondary. I think they'll probably take a corner or a safety. So that's either Morig or Newsome.
Yep.
Cleveland might take the corner if Jacksonville takes the safety, but then all the edge guys are on the board. And if Pittsburgh takes Najee Harris here, I mean, that leaves Jenkins, Barmore, and all the edge guys for the Ravens leading into that pick. And not Morig. I allotted him to someone else, but it's a really nice position.
Wide receivers, Bateman and
Terrace,
right? Yeah, Terrace.
Yeah,
Marshall. So.
I'm going to just say this right now. I'm going to be real upset if the Ravens take a wide receiver at either 27 or 31. Don't trade back and get a wide receiver somewhere in the middle of the second round.
I would agree. I'm not on first round wide receiver team. So.
And you can go far enough back, I think, in the second. It's not needing to be one of those, like you were saying earlier, Ken, like doesn't have to be 35 or 37 at that point. Whereas for like one of the edge guys, it's going to have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So
yes!
You see the pick.
Najee Harris goes to the Steelers. Thank you.
I'm not trying to hold my back.
Yeah.
They didn't even wait.
That's it. That is we better hope we're right about that. Or
Okay,
this exact
but we're
thing could
not-
become
we're
a
not out of
meme
the-
in Pittsburgh.
I'm not out of the woods yet because Jacksonville, I know that they tagged Cam Robinson,
Right.
but again, that's just a tag. If they don't feel like they can do a long-term deal, they could also get Jenkins and either develop him or keep Cam for just 1 year on the tag or try to trade him or whatever. So I'm not out of the woods yet. As you can tell, I want Jenkins.
Right. And even
Either
if you thought that they wouldn't take him, there's still a chance they trade the pick. So the next 2 picks, and if you were around for the 2007 draft, the party at my house was ruined, and by me, unfortunately, when the 49ers jumped up to number 28 and took Joe Staley, who would have been our left tackle for a decade, and we ended up with Ben Grubbs, and I had a tantrum, and then we had some guests over, and they all had to leave for whatever reason, probably unrelated. But anyway,
So I'm
Totally
feeling
unrelated, I'm sure.
I'm feeling like Sarah right now. I really want Tevin Jenkins. I'm going to be disappointed at this point. Dan, what would we have to do to get up here a couple of spots?
Oh yeah, look. So to go from the 27th to the 26th, or what are we at? The 25th now.
Yeah, jump Cleveland, right?
So it would be 132. Which what do we got? We have 131. That would probably do it. If we, if Jacksonville doesn't do it, and we're just afraid of one spot, that's 175.
but then Cleveland would have to trade it to us. So I doubt they'll do that.
Right,
Right.
that's probably fair. So it doesn't take much. It takes one of the 4th round picks. So if we need to jump up 2 spots,
See, I'm glad I'm not a GM.
Yeah, there's too much value in the pick to give up other value to move up here. I mean, if the Jaguars for whatever reason take Jenkins, then Moehrig or Newsome is going to be already on the board here for our pick, plus all the wide receivers, plus all the edge guys minus pay. I mean,
hey, that makes
Barmore and all that.
that-
Yep.
that
and
makes them
Barmore.
likely. That makes them likely to want to trade, though. If you look at it, you can look at it that way too. They could trade back 2 spots and still get their guy. But yeah, Jenkins just seems like too good of a fit. So I'm going to sit here and say we're not going to get him just because I want him. I want him.
He'll be on the board and the Ravens will pass. That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
that happened a couple times. I feel like last year where the Ravens, there were some guys that I wanted, and the Ravens just refused to take them.
Like with Derwin James in 2018.
Derwin James, yeah, he'd be on the list. I'm trying to remember who it was last year. Now let me pull up the draft, see if I can.
The most upset I got was Tyus Bowser, taking him over Kamara and Cooper Kupp, and probably three other guys that I really wanted. And I had Bowser way down there on the way out of the picture, small school guy. And I remember I was up at the whiteboard, which I'm not updating today because I have the other board, but I just dropped the dry erase marker.
Bowser Houston, right?
Yes.
So small. I wouldn't call it a small school, but that's okay.
Smaller school. I mean, yeah.
Not a Power 5.
This and Gabe probably can vouch for my love of Claypool before the Steelers drafted him last year, but he was a guy I would have drafted when the Ravens traded back in the second, and I was not thrilled. I thought he was a really good fit for our offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think he would have been a really good fit too.
I mean,
hindsight.
like hindsight is 2020, right? Obviously, Claypool would have been a great pick much earlier in the draft. So,
okay, let's hear it from Twitter right now. I want to see these picks come across the screen right now. Who do you think the Ravens will be picking at 27? Toss it out there right now for us.
Can you throw up that big board so we can see who's out there? I don't know. Can we see Twitter and the big board? It's pretty fancy.
I'm sorry. I've said Twitter. I meant YouTube.
I'm not answering that question because I don't want to jinx it. So,
Well, I would say Rousseau. I'll say Rousseau.
That's the guy you want?
No. I thought the question was, who do you think we're going to pick?
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I want Tevin Jenkins. I think it's going to end up being Rousseau.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
these are good.
Barmore and
Couple of
Moehrig,
Jenkins.
I like both of them. I mean,
Jenkins or Bateman. Okay.
I could see Barmore for sure.
Trade back at 27, pick Jenkins at 31. Boy, that guy's really betting on the come. Thank you, Jimmy. I hope that works out for us. Merrick, okay, I can live with that.
No Terrace Marshall. I'm surprised no fans there. No wide receiver fans.
Well, I saw Bateman come through on one of them. Man, it is crazy how much people want Moerig.
Yeah. Merrick is the ball hawk, and we got one guy who likes Barmore. That's good. I'm glad to see that.
All right, Sean. Yes, we do. Train 9632W.
I think Newsom.
Are you guys buying into the Marshall stuff? I actually was listening. Wasn't it Daniel Jeremiah who first put it on the radar that there was injury flags? Was it him?
I don't know.
Nobody remembers?
He sure looked good on his pro day. I mean, he looked awesome.
I mean, Daniel Jeremiah said that, but I was listening to Move the Sticks today, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not putting much stock into the injury flags for." And I was like, "Wait, aren't you the one that put it out there? I need to go back and look. I could be wrong."
Yeah, we shouldn't use this power. This is great. Everybody's chiming in with their thing. After the Ravens pick, we can get back to something important like favorite Simpsons quote that is appropriate to this situation.
I love the spot the Ravens are in right now. I know there's a lot of tension over who it is that we're actually going to pick at 27, but there are plenty of guys to fill in, plenty of spots on this roster, both short and long term. Tacasa's got to be over the moon right now about how this board has played its way out.
I think it's a good board, and Travis Etienne would make it beautiful right now, or Travis Etienne anywhere before 31 would make it beautiful right now.
I mean, is that something that the Saints aren't going to? The Packers, no.
Bills.
I mean, that seems pretty unlikely. Maybe the Bills.
Bills have been linked to Etienne.
What about Jacksonville?
Well, they have James Robinson. He's pretty good, right?
They have so many other needs in Jacksonville. To take a running back would surprise me.
I remember one of the commercials for the 2003 draft. They said, "What does your team need?" And they had Derek Carr, who'd just been sacked. Derek Carr, that's not right. It's the other Carr, his brother. He'd been sacked 72 times that previous year, and they had a center, him, and a one running back and one wide receiver.
There you go, Mike. What's
Okay,
your buddy?
Come up yet?
Oh, the tension.
Yeah,
I can just like feel, especially for Gabe and Sarah and Jason. Like I can just feel it coming through the screen.
I tell you what, I'm looking at the players, and there's a lot of absolute like guys you would call dogs that are available too. There aren't a lot of pretty boy type players. There's a lot of physical Raven mentality guys right there, sitting there at the board, wide receiver and all.
I love that.
Travis Etienne is off the board.
Oh my
there
goodness.
you go at number 25.
Dan called it.
you already had it earlier, Dan, or did you?
No, I didn't have it earlier.
Okay.
Dan's
Very
cheating.
good.
Cheater Dan.
He's always
right.
suspected. Anybody who
Oh my
Got it
god!
right.
now look at our YouTube viewers going crazy here.
I mean, 2 running backs right before the Ravens. Could you? I mean, they're still the Browns, but could you like draw it up any better?
Cleveland's
It's kind of like Jordan Brooks last year being drafted ahead of Queen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gabe called that one.
Gabe called Jordan Brooks because that's a long shot.
Not the night of. I thought he was
but
someone who would go higher than people thought.
Yeah. I think Cleveland's going to go Newsom here, but I mean, either way, there's going to be a secondary player if the Ravens decide they want to go that direction on the board, no matter what.
If I was Cleveland, I'd probably take Russo here. I think you have a monster edge combo there. You don't know what you can get with Clowney, and he's just a 1-year rental, really. You put Russo next to why is my brain slipping?
Garrett,
yeah, Myles Garrett. Those two. Whew.
So how's everybody going to feel when the Ravens trade back from 27?
No.
As expected. My guess is they go Barmore here, like you guys were talking about, D-line help.
I could see that for sure. I mean, the Ravens need to get younger. Need to get younger on defensive line.
Ken couldn't handle it anymore. Huh? He's taking a break. Yeah. So JOK, what happened with that, guys? I got nothing on. I don't know anything about him other than he's got a cool name. So, do you guys know about him at all?
I thought he was kind of like a fringe first round guy. He fits that modern linebacker role. Very good in coverage, very athletic, speed. I think maybe when Jamin Davis went ahead of him, that was not a good sign for him and his prospects on day one of the draft.
Yeah.
When he's more Sam than true edge, right?
Well, I mean, he's off the ball.
Inside, right?
Oh, he's inside? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh man.
I feel like this is crazy. The Ravens are like on deck and we lost 2 people.
They couldn't handle it.
This is like so anticlimactic. What's going on
I'll
here?
handle it. The pick is in, folks. I don't know who it is yet, but it says the pick is in.
It is in?
All right, that's what ESPN tells me. I don't know.
Everybody wanted to get their bio break in right before the Ravens pick. That was the issue here.
There's a 20-minute commitment on the other side of this, right? I asked right when you stood up, Ken. I said, so how upset are you going to be when the Ravens trade back from 27?
Oh, very. I think they better address a need right here. I don't think it'll happen because I don't think there's another trading partner who's that excited in the spot. But I'd be pretty upset if they did trade back.
Who did you want at 27, Ken?
Right now, I still want Jenkins over Barmore over Merrig, and that might be the exact order I would go. I think they'll get the edge rusher they want at 31, and I think those are the 3 guys they really need to decide on at 27. And I really wouldn't be upset with any of them at this point. I wouldn't be upset with any of them.
You're not interested in Bateman?
I don't want a wide receiver here. Okay, we got a lot of Jenkins train going on. Some of you are voting twice.
Choo-choo.
I wouldn't hate Barmore for the Ravens. I think him, and if you get him and Jenkins in the first round, that's almost as good as you can get. I'm almost like the defensive tackle more than an edge, just based on the value of what Barmore brings and the other defensive tackles in this class. Versus, I think you can get some day 2 edge guys who are pretty comparable to the guys that are still there right now.
Come on.
All right, here comes the Browns pick. Who are we hoping the Browns pick?
ESPN has JOK or Elijah Moore. I'd be okay with either of those guys.
Yeah, you're right. I would be too.
Newsome, maybe, I don't want to see it. I prefer the Ravens not take a corner. So just get him off the board.
I'd like to see them take a linebacker.
Yeah, me too.
Please not Jenkins.
I'd be surprised.
I'd be very surprised if they went offensive line.
They kept the pick. That should be a good thing, right?
I think so, yeah.
I wonder if if they don't take Barmore, if there becomes more interest because of the lack of depth at defensive line.
Someone trade up. It could be a trade up partner. And he's the only guy maybe the cornerback too.
Or Morig.
Yeah. Gotta get one of those singular players for a trade up partner.
This is true excitement, guys.
My goodness.
Come on.
Heart's pounding right now.
Come on, young lady.
Yeah. Announce the pick.
Greg Newsome, cornerback. All right. So the Ravens have quite a feast in front of them for the next 5 picks.
I think it's a good pick for the Browns.
Yeah,
I do too. I think they needed the help at corner.
All right. I won't be upset if it's any of the 3 of them. If it's Jenkins, Barmore, or Merrig, I'm okay with any of those 3. I would like to wait for the 31 for the edge.
Yeah, exactly.
How
Yeah,
you guys
there's
feeling?
still
Let's go
plenty
through,
of
Sarah.
edge there, so that makes it's the smarter weight.
Okay. Anybody? Who else is ready? Who are the 3 picks that you wouldn't be unhappy with? Are there any number of picks you wouldn't be unhappy? Who's ready?
I'm ready. It's the top 3 guys on my board. If we take Barmore, I completely understand. I love Terrace Marshall for his fit in this offense, his ability to be inside, outside. I think him and Lamar would absolutely produce over the middle. And then, of course, my number 1 guy I'd have to say at this point is Tevin Jenkins. He's who I want.
All right. How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Barmore, Barmore, Jenkins, or Moehrig. I mean, there's just too many edge guys here, and unless there's one the Ravens really love, then in that case, take that guy if he's a guy that you felt like he slipped.
Let's go to Dan.
I'd be a little upset if they didn't take Jenkins. I think Barmore and Moehrig, if they take them, they're good players, but they have too many needs and they lost the 2nd round pick that I think it's just too many holes. So I'd like them to fill one now.
Okay. Gabe?
For me, it's Jenkins and then Barmore. And then I would say Bateman. I really like Bateman at wide receiver, and I think he's someone who's a really good route runner, and I think that's something the Ravens could use.
You like Bateman better enough than Marshall that you wouldn't want to risk going to 31 on the backup guy?
I mean, I would prefer either of them at 31 than at 27. I'd prefer Bateman over Marshall slightly, but I think they're both good options.
Okay. All right. Sarah, how about you?
I mean, I didn't think somebody like Bartman would fall, so I think value-wise, I have to say that. I'm Jenkins. Right now, I'm on the Jenkins train for that. At 31, maybe it's because I feel like the Ravens can get value at edge rusher still. I'd be happy with Bateman or Marshall.
Okay.
Commercial.
All right.
I don't know if you guys saw that clip where they showed Slater being drafted, and Slater's a big guy, but his dad was standing next to him and looked a solid 4.5 inches or more taller than him. And I don't know if he was standing on something, but those 2 guys were massive standing next to each other.
Ken, you're the arm length police. Somebody just asked about. Somebody just asked about arm length on Jenkins. I think he was asking on Jenkins.
So you missed it. It's been kind of a running joke all night. Is that every time I say arm length or mention arm length during the show, you have to drink. But I think Jenkins at 33.5. I think the Twitter rumor was that he was 32 in range, and it was started by unreliably on Twitter. And they never really got a measurement at that, and that 33.5 is closer to the truth. We've got a discounted arm length here with a lot of T-Rexes, and it makes 33.5 is no longer just the Mendoza line. It's slightly above it for 2021. So
Picks in.
Yeah, with the commercial, though, everybody hold. No,
if you know.
No comments, please.
The Ravens always get commercials on their picks, don't they? Does it seem like it's every single year?
Yep.
I'm allowing myself to be surprised. I'm not looking at Twitter for this.
Yep.
All right, come on.
Wait, if you're not looking at Twitter, does that mean I can't look at Twitter? Because I won't be able to contain myself.
Yeah, don't look at Twitter.
How goes your poker face?
Yeah, I try to read the room here.
I'll just get off so I can have an authentic reaction.
You can get back on Twitter in like the next pick.
Okay.
for 3. Although you could be happy about those in between. All right, so they're going to be bringing someone up to the stage. We're going to be 2 minutes away from this pick still, aren't we?
At least.
The most exciting 2 minutes in sports. No Kentucky Derby here.
It's funny because 5, 6, 7 picks to go, I would have been happy with a bunch of guys. And as it's progressively gone on, I started focusing in on my guy, and here it goes, man. I'm really going to be hyped if we get an absolute beast at right tackle. It would just feel so good. We might even upgrade that position for 2021.
I don't know there's someone behind the Ravens, though, that are, I mean, unless someone wants to trade up for Jenkins, which if they did, they would have traded ahead of the Ravens, I think.
Right.
That is necessarily going to take a tackle. So
could still be there.
But it gets progressively cheaper to do so with each pick in that first round.
That's true. And then they'd be still trading in front of the Ravens again, but it's possible he gets to 31.
Yeah.
Jason, I want to hear more about what you just said. You said that you felt like it could be an upgrade at right tackle with Jenkins. Are you talking about over Orlando Brown, or when Orlando Brown had to move to the left side and we had the right? Like, you think he's better than Orlando?
I think that he can be by the end of this year. I think that's the safer way to say it. I think when you talk about Orlando Brown, he's great downhill. He's great handling the bull rush. I think there are some things that Jenkins does from a technical standpoint that I like even better than Orlando. And I can think of a lot of runs specifically where Orlando could not hold the edge as far as the seal blocks. In other words, he's turning in towards the middle of the line. He's trying to wall that defensive end, and the defensive end takes a step back, and Orlando loses him because his feet are just a little bit slower than Jenkins. And
that's really interesting.
Why?
Because I would have said that the down block and then move up a half level to catch the linebacker is one of the things that Orlando did really, really well. And it's one of the things that made it really easy to play right tackle. The Ravens take Rashad Bateman with the 27th pick.
There you go.
Wait, are you lying right now? Are you serious?
Nope. It just came up. It just came back, and Rashad Bateman is the guy.
Rejoice! Oh my gosh, my mentions. I'm a little bit shocked here, but my mentions are going to be so much better. I'm so tired of people complaining to me.
Yep, Twitter will be more peaceful for sure.
You might be thinking the same thing that Jordan was thinking, and that the wide receiver is more likely to go off the board than the tackle looking at the picks that are left and who's picking. So
1000%. That's exactly how I feel about it. There was, with what Buffalo was trying to do, with what the Saints, all of them. Green Bay for sure is definitely looking at a wide receiver, I think, especially with the Aaron Rodgers kind of like hubbub. Much better chance that a wide receiver is going in the next 3 picks than tackle.
I love Bateman, so I'm happy.
We're not even talking about Bateman. We're talking about Jenkins still.
I could describe the responses we're getting to this pick as a barbell. A lot of yeses and a lot of I just broke the table I was pounding on.
Who was with me who said before that they would have been? I said I would be fine with Terrace Marshall or Bateman. Somebody else said Bateman.
I said that too. I said Bateman.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think, Lamar. What do you think Lamar is getting with Bateman?
He's getting a guy who can get open. He can get separation. He has great hands. He plays bigger than his size. He doesn't have elite speed, but I love his route running. That's the number one thing I see when I watch him.
Yeah, I love the route. I've only seen the heat map on Terrace Marshall. I haven't seen one on Rashad Bateman. Have you, Jordan? Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I'm nodding because I've seen that heat map too, and it was a good fit for Baltimore. Right.
But I agree with the with Gabe with he just I was shocked by his measurements at his Pro Bowl because, like you said, he plays so much bigger than his size. I love the route running. I love that he's going to be paired. All these young wide receivers are going to be paired with the new coaches, Williams and
T. Martin.
T. Martin. Because I always want to say his son's name whenever I think of him. But and I've said this a lot on your pod, Ken, when I came on. I just felt like wide receivers were not making plays for Lamar. It was so many times that Lamar would make his offensive line look better or all these things. And I'm like, can somebody do something for Lamar? And so that's why I do like Bateman. I just feel like he's going to go up and he's going to snatch the ball out of the air and he's going to make plays for Lamar. And maybe it'll take a minute to adjust to the NFL, but yeah, I wanted Jenkins and he's still there, but I'm also not hating Rashad. Although Ken, I know you're not very happy.
Well, I'd have preferred not to have the. Yeah, that's a good point. Now 0% chance.
No chance for Julio.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. It's an interesting pick. If the Ravens like it, I like it. A lot of people had Bateman much higher than the 27th pick. So from that perspective, could really be good value for the Ravens. My fear always with a wide receiver is that the Ravens won't harvest that value because they won't develop him. And frankly, that because they don't need to pass as much, that they don't get the most value they could out of a wide receiver pick. So it is what it is. The Saints are about to pick at number 28, and that's one of only 3 in front of the Ravens again.
So does DaCosta win an Oscar for his performance about the wide receiver group?
Liar's lunch.
Let me tell you, having worked there for many years, and I also very early in my Ravens career, after I was a PR intern, the scouts actually asked me to interview for an opening they had in their department, but it was kind of like an administrative assistant kind of person. But I interviewed with Eric DaCosta, and he's both a super he's a prankster and he's also super serious. And so I've been in an interview where I felt like I was a player and it was intense. But we got to talking and like we just started going off of each other, and we ended up, really, I don't know. I really enjoyed the interview. I ended up not getting the position, which is good because I like to be in digital media. But he is a prankster, always on Pat Moriarty. We would get emails randomly all the time. It would be sent out to the entire company from Pat Moriarty's email saying something dumb. And you knew Eric had sent it. You knew Eric sent it he got into his office and sent it.
Pissed off that Moriarty was leaving his email open while he's away from his desk.
Probably. But anyway, I say that because I feel like Eric he would never admit this, get a little bit of a kick out of trolling Ravens fans, Ravens media, national media. I think he loved that he tricked everybody on Lamar Jackson. I guarantee he loves that he's making it look like he was never going to get Bateman or anybody else. We're fine. We don't need a wide receiver 1. And then he goes and gets it. But I bet he loves trolling all of us.
I love that. And a hollow vote of confidence. It's when people were freaking out. I remember tweeting something like, there's nothing quite like the hollow vote of confidence. And we love our guys. This is our guys. I'm insulted that you're insulted, that we're insulted, that he's insulted. And here we are. We take a complete receiver in Rashad Bateman. I like Marshall better, but I'll trust the Ravens on this one. And I like Bateman as a player a lot. He was, I think, 23rd on my board, 24th. So it's a great value. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that he would have. I thought that was a borderline guy. Most of the time he wouldn't have been there. Half the time he would have been there if you did the mock, if you drafted 100 times. So I love it, man. It's exciting. And now we just have to
we got this question from Doug come up. Who's getting cut, Prochet or Boykin? And one of the things I'll say about this is injuries almost always will make your roster shake out properly. So if they want to get down to 5 wide receivers, the easiest way is for them to deal with an injury and have it work out that way. But here's the Saints pick coming up right now. Ooh, this is very early. Peyton Turner goes at number 28.
Oh, wow.
Now, I love him, but that's very, very big reach.
I was reading earlier that people were thinking he might jump into the first. So that's interesting.
And they run more of a 4-3 down there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I could see that. Power edge.
I think the Saints, I thought, might be more likely to take your boy Jenkins over Green Bay or Buffalo. Didn't Buffalo just re-sign one of their tackles? And I think the Packers are pretty set at tackle too.
Yeah. Sorry, just seeing some tweets that I think are interesting. Torrey Smith commenting on Bateman. He's going to be a good one. Marlon Humphrey welcoming him. Here's what's interesting. Can we bring back up that big board? Because now I'm interested. We're getting an idea of where the Ravens ranked their wide receivers. So they obviously had Bateman above Marshall. What other wide receivers were left?
Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore.
Popped up a lot his first round.
But because he was rising at least whatever rising means in mock drafts. So he had him above Moore and Marshall.
I'm a Nico Collins guy. He's higher on my list than you'll see him elsewhere probably.
I also think he's underrated.
But Diami Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tylan Wallace, and then of course you got Rondale Moore. And I think that's a pretty solid tier right there before you get to Amari Rodgers.
So you think the Packers pick a wide receiver to try and save face with Rodgers?
So the last, I think it's 10 drafts or whatever, they've taken 9 defensive players and his replacement. Might be 9 drafts and 8 and 1, but their top pick in each of those drafts, defensive player for 8 straight years, then Jordan Love.
They told him they were trading him this offseason or something like that, and then didn't. They're I don't. What a mess. What a mess.
It's interesting because they're not usually a team that is kind of associated with being kind of those disaster.
Now, I think they got a new GM recently, right? A couple years ago.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. One more Bateman thought, because I think, Ken, you're spot on when you say that he might not get the value you traditionally get in the Ravens offense. I mean, he's probably not going to see. He might see 100 targets. I think that's kind of the top end of what he's going to see. But I think what he does is he gives you that kind of reliable go-to guy who can get open in big moments and be the person who the Ravens haven't necessarily had in some of these positions when they're in the 3rd and long, and you're just depending on Lamar Jackson to make a play with his feet, because I don't think the Ravens have really had that kind of person who, I mean, maybe Mark Andrews, but I really like him as somebody that you could really be like a featured wide receiver when you need him to be.
Right. I did look at the heat map, by the way, for Bateman. It is a lot over the middle of the field at about 10 yards. So that's at least exciting. He has no fear of the middle of the field. That's more like a tight end, a guy who can extend plays, a guy who can defeat play action with a good cut. I like that kind of a receiver.
A good receiver paired with Marquise Brown is really nice. Like letting Brown be the number 2 guy, I think is a really good fit for him.
So if the Ravens passed up Barmore also, there's something wrong, right? I mean,
with
big
Barmore?
time. Yeah.
It's very strange that he's dropped as far as he has to me.
A lot of the mocks had him to Tampa with that last pick.
Okay.
For whatever that's worth. I mean,
Well, but it's interesting because not only do they have Bateman, if they stuck by their best player available and not reaching for need, they either had Rashad Bateman above all these edge rushers and Jenkins and Morig, or he was right there in a tier with them, because sometimes they'll have a ton of similar grades and have them in the same group, and then if they're all next to each other, then they'll draft on need. So either he was ahead of all of them or right there with all of them.
Okay, the Packers have taken Eric Stokes out of Georgia. Real good size. It's
like that.
6'0" and 5'8". But a 4.29 40. Definitely one of the top corners. They're 5 corners now in the first round, correct? That's Newsome, Farley, the big 2, Surtain and Horn, and now Stokes.
Does this mean Jenkins is going to make it to 31?
He only has to go ahead.
I was just going to say, unless Buffalo trades the pick, I don't think they're going to take a tackle.
A team that wanted to trade for this pick, they are encouraged more because it's like 200 fewer JJ points, if you want to talk about it that way, to trade for 26 than it is to 30. But it's still, it seems like that's maybe not enough that we would see the break and have a trade here. I think that the Ravens have too many needs for someone to try and trade ahead of the Ravens just because they think the Ravens are going to take their guy.
Good point.
I could see the Bills going with Barmore. I really could, because remember on your Know Your Foe episode, Ken, that they were having a lot of problems stopping the run. They were having a lot of problems. Who was the high pick? The name escapes me.
Ed Oliver.
Ed Oliver, right. That they weren't sure what was going on with him. So I could see a team that was having problems stopping the run have this be a landing spot for him.
Well, one of those edge guys that are good against the run could be a really good fit here for them too.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There you go.
So how are the Ravens wide receivers starting right now? What's the lineup? What do you guys see? Because we got Sammy now, we've got Hollywood, we've got Bateman, Miles Boykin. What do you guys see, and how just an early thought on how they'll be used?
I mean, they play a lot of 21 and a lot of 12 personnel. So they play probably as little 11 as most teams in the league. It's still 35% or something of their other things. But if you're talking starting, you really only have 2 wide receivers on the field, probably. So other teams, it would be 3, straight out of the box almost every play.
And Marquise almost never left the field last year, right?
Thought he was in the 70%, but
I'm going to look it up right now.
Well, and this is also good insurance. I mean, if you're looking at Sammy Watkins' injury history.
Yep. Sure.
So that's definitely helpful because nobody here could, go in there feeling really comfortable with that. And I also wonder, sorry, go ahead.
The Ravens don't give a lot of snaps early to rookies,
right,
especially at the skill position level. So I think Bateman will work his way in over time, but not be the immediate starter.
78% for Brown last year in terms of snaps, up from 51% as a rookie. Of course, he was injured then. But yeah, it might really help to have him play 65% of the snaps and be more winded for some of those.
I think one of the good things about the Ravens, at least their top 3 wide receivers now, assuming Bateman is one of their top 3, is that they're all kind of positionally versatile in terms of the role in wide receiver. You can see any of them really playing in the slot. You can see any of them being the X. You can see any of them being the flanker. And they all kind of can fit in different roles. And I think that can, provide some easy kind of looks for Lamar. It can provide some easy releases for different wide receivers that they want to get open in different situations.
And I like the fact that we have now not only Sammy who can do this, but Bateman can get themselves open on 3rd down, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. They can go over the middle. They can take the hit. It's not just all about Mark Andrews in that situation. So even if Sammy gets banged up again, we'll have somebody, a rookie, working their way in. I like that about Bateman and Marshall. So I'm happy with the pick, but I know what I want. I know what I want to happen now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Me too. So here's a question, and I guess, Ken, this is to you, talking about, the mostly in the 12 personnel and whatnot. One quote that completely got overshadowed from the Ravens' very first press conference after the season. It was overshadowed because it was the one where somebody had asked Harbaugh, do you think you're going to be able to get veteran wide receivers in here since you're run first? And he got super mad, right? And he was like, I'm not going to beg anybody to be here, and da-da-da-da. And it's kind of funny because it sounds like they did try on quite a few and it, didn't work out. But another quote that was completely overshadowed is his very first answer. When somebody had asked him, it was like his first answer in the whole press conference, like, what do you want to work on? And the quote was, we owe it to Lamar and the offense to build up that side of the ball, or that side of the game. So I just wonder, could they, if you've got 3 wide receivers who are more useful now, and again, I know it's run first. they're not going away from that, nor should they. They're the best in history at it. But could we see more 3 wide receiver sets if these guys are producing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. I mean, you can, a lot of your 2 tight end looks can become 3 wide receiver looks. I think, what you do with Patrick Ricard and how often you have him on the field, they've already had a pretty wide variation in that over the last 2 seasons when the offense has been very successful. They've had him on the field a lot, playing multiple roles in 2020. They had him on the field relatively a little in 2019, and used almost exclusively as a fullback that year. So a fullback or a motioning tight end, we'll call it. But I think that's a player who loses snaps out of the fact that they got Rashad Bateman. If you had to pick another player, a 6th offensive lineman, we'll probably see less of that. We'll probably see less of a player like Tomlinson. If you want to see less tight end snaps out of that. So I think this has to certainly mean with the money they've spent and the draft capital they spent here, that they're going to show more 3 wide receiver sets. Pick number 30 is in. Buffalo takes Gregory Rousseau, the pass rusher out of Miami.
Let's go.
Other.
He's there.
Bring him to me. Give me Jenkins.
This is just setting up for heartbreak.
Don't say that.
Don't say that.
Chance to trade back the pick now? What would you put it just doesn't seem like trades are happening right now. It's been fast and furious.
Slowed down pretty quickly on the trades.
Yeah. When was the last pick was traded? Was 14? Is that right? Or was there one since then, Dan?
I'm not sure. I haven't been recording them. Let's see.
So the Jets traded up to 14. The Bears traded up to 10, right, to take the Giants pick.
The Bears traded up to 11. The Cowboys and the Giants traded up 10, 12. So yeah, I don't think there's been a trade since
the Jets traded up to 14, I think.
14, yeah.
Does anybody else need a quarterback right now?
Like Jalen Mills or somebody jumping into the first round to get the 5th-year option? That'd be exciting.
Kyle Trask, is he the 6th quarterback of the board?
Could be.
That was
His
my
name,
bold prediction was that we were going to trade this pick to Carolina or Denver or Detroit. But at this point, not really sure. I mean, the edge rushers really hung in there longer than I thought. I mean, Ojulari was a first rounder, and any mock that I saw, he's still on the board. Kwity Paye lasted a longer time than I thought.
I think Ojulari is a little small for the position. That's probably why he slid to where he is. But that's really he had a nice kind of,
So
profile.
one other thing about Bateman is that, you got to remember Watkins is only on a 1-year deal. So, right. Especially with the Ravens liking to push off on rookies and not to put the, shine the spotlight right on them right away. That's a great year to transition for Watkins. So, with Watkins. So transition Watkins to Bateman.
Yeah, I have to figure if Bateman doesn't get a chance, I guess he could just win the starting job from Watkins effectively. Win playing time and play, 45, 50% of the snaps this year, maybe more even. But I just don't see him getting a huge number of targets this year. I don't see him being a 100-target guy out of the box. Probably if you look at where Boykin was, maybe add 20 targets to that might be reasonable.
I think realistically, you're 60, 70 targets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could. A good hope would be to be what J.K. Dobbins did, with Ingram. Kind of slowly transition in the first half of the year, and then take over the key role there. But with obviously more wide receivers, you can do both a little bit. So
they have a lot of insurance at wide receiver now for injury too. So it may be that part of the thinking here is that Watkins may not play a full year. Maybe others either. Maybe by economizing on his snaps, he doesn't take the same injury risk.
Oh yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think the Ravens are going to milk this clock, see if they can get any trade back.
And wish they would just run up there and take it.
Okay, nobody flip this pick early here. I don't want to hear it until it comes up.
I also wonder if I know you guys are all high on Jenkins, but maybe the Ravens just aren't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different offensive lineman they like more.
Or none of them, Maybe he's too questionable at that point. So
anybody think which is more likely, rolling an 11 or taking Spencer Brown here?
I don't think they're going to take Brown here.
Spencer Brown is more unlikely.
I'm glad you like his Spencer Brown though, Ken. That's the guy I have starred at that position.
Good developmental guy. That's for sure.
He really is, man. I don't think it'll take long. I think the end of year 1, year 2, he'll be ready to go.
You just watch Jenkins just finishing plays, and it's hard to see him not being a Raven and what they want to do.
Well, if you watched Michael Orr play as a rookie, that was a guy who really finished some plays, and his career ended up being a ski slope once he decided that wasn't the way he wanted to do it.
Round 2 is going to be long if we don't have a pick.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of good players going in round 2.
Yeah, that'll be painful to watch.
It's true.
Tomorrow night's a lot of fun. I want to remind people there'll be a Zoom call. We'll have a link out for that. Make sure you join us for that. We had a great time with all you people here. It's just been a great discussion, and the people who've been on
the link
on YouTube. Yeah, sorry. What's up?
The link is now up on filmstudybaltimore.com.
Okay.
And it's probably going to be limited to 100 people.
Okay.
I'm looking at upgrading that since we've got 200 people viewing right now, but we'll have 100 or 200 accessible over there to join us. And then probably stream it as well.
They
the same channel.
Pick is in.
Did not trade it. Don't give it up. Don't give it up. If you know, it looks like somebody knows. Hide your face, damn it, Dan.
No, I'm hiding the screen.
Oh, okay.
I don't know it.
I don't know. I'm not looking.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting moment. Okay.
Stupid
I'm
commercial.
actually
Commercial
okay.
again. I'm like,
Now, who's back on with us tomorrow? I know that you are, right, Jason?
I'll be here whenever you need me. Sure. It's
Right.
a lot of fun, man. Then tomorrow's my favorite day with all those names
There's a lot
coming
of
off
fun.
the
Who
board.
else is here for tomorrow? Dan, I know you had trouble making it tomorrow, or might have trouble, so you let me know.
Yeah, I'll let
okay?
you know.
And then
And
you guys are all welcome.
Alec will be here, and it starts at 7 tomorrow, so a little earlier.
Here we go. Come on, guys. Commercials.
It's only sports that I ever see commercials anymore because I do not watch live TV.
same.
It's ridiculously annoying. Oh.
I'm just watching you guys instead. Wait, Ken is my new Roger Goodell over there.
Yes. I can't even watch baseball anymore in the same way I used to enjoy it and score it and pitch by pitch and whatnot, but I have to go fast forward by pitch now to enjoy the game at all.
I can't stand the same commercials all season.
Mhm.
By about May, I'm going to pause the game at the beginning and then just fast forward through that. So what else is going on, guys? Anything?
Don't even do that.
Trying to take my mind off of it here.
Yeah. Well, I will say, because our internet went down, I don't know what's going on. My 11-year-old son has been in this room next to me this whole time.
Man,
He's a
good kid.
diehard. And from the beginning, he's been wanting Rashad Bateman. So he is ecstatic right now, but is holding it in as not to be loud on this. All right, we're back from commercial.
And he's still up at 11 o'clock on a weeknight?
Hey, man, he's homeschool, so he's gotten in with his teacher
There
who
you
will let
go.
him sleep in tomorrow.
All
So
right.
he's
Mother of
good.
the year, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Good man.
Sarah's
Here we go. They're announcing it right back from commercial. I hate this. And then we just the Ravens selection.
Killing us tonight.
Jason Owe, Penn State.
Oh,
Not excited.
oh.
They like him a lot more than I do. I'll tell you that, because he did not have a sack last year, is my recollection, right? In seven games. And Penn State was bad. So they were behind in a lot of games, and other teams were probably running against them and not passing. That's so bad.
Yeah, he had 5 the year before, so it's not like he's been completely unproductive in his career. But yeah, that 0 sacks in a season is tough to see. Man, I love his run defense though. I think that's why the Ravens like him so much, or why they drafted him, because he is a stud run defender. He is strong at the point of attack, and he's got this, like I said earlier, immense athleticism and an upside.
For a team that's
already in. Sorry.
For a team that's valued past production in college for sacks, probably more than any other team, in the league. For them to discount, to take him despite that, I think that kind of says something about him. So about what they saw. So.
One of the clips looked like it would have been a sack here, but it was a fumble that the guy intercepted. So I don't know if that was from this year or not, but
so he dislodged the football and went up in the air and got
and
got
then they just showed another one where no, that couldn't be this year though, because it was a strip sack fumble. That's credited as a sack in college, right?
But it went up in the air and it got caught.
The one that they showed, went in the air and it was intercepted by someone.
Yep.
But the Bucks picked immediately, so I don't love that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going with Villanueva and Tyree Phillips on the right side.
Or
unfortunately, it could be to start the year. It could be Villanueva and Tyree Phillips at each tackle spot if Stanley isn't ready to go.
If Stanley, obviously there's still a chance, regardless of whether the Ravens looked at his medicals or not. But you have to believe that they really trust that he'll be there for week 1, or they wouldn't have traded Brown.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then Brown would have at least been, to start the year, they would have been like, you're going to start at left tackle.
Mm-hmm. And maybe they didn't want to deal with the unhappiness, but they didn't get so much of an overwhelming return on Brown that I think they would have made the pick if they had a potential hole there. But still, we don't know for sure.
What do you like from Owe? I mean, you had him in this. You had him in your second or your third tier.
No, Gabe said it a couple of times with the run defense. I mean, he's just he's an athlete among athletes. So I love that about him. And I mean, he's got a lot of room to grow, which is a double-edged sword. I remember Mr. Crawford, Michael was talking about the tools in the toolbox. Mm-hmm. He's got a huge toolbox. There's just not a lot in it right now. So if we can develop him, he could be a superstar. So I don't want to be so upset that we took him, because he is a very good player. I think he will be a very good player. It's just the offensive tackle. I just love Tevin Jenkins, but Owe, you'd like to see some sack and some production. I like production just because it helps to see what it looks like when it goes right, and that's something that I didn't get to see from Jason.
Okay, so Jason Owe was an odd player because his athleticism is just off of even the RAS charts. He 57, supposedly timed with a 4:37.40. Does anybody believe that might have been pro day influence?
Oh, definitely.
4:37. That's literally the fastest player ever at the position. 34.5-inch arms, maybe. That's a more of a solid thing that wouldn't be clock watchified. He had a 684 3-cone and a 420 shuttle, which a broad jump of 11.2. All those numbers are way at the end of any athleticism right-hand side of the curve for the position. So, I mean, this is outrageous, but the production just does not match it. So if the feeling is that the Ravens can get this hand on an athlete who's really at this level and is just completely raw and not able to use his tools, then maybe that has to be the thinking behind the pick, because it certainly isn't a production and college component.
And he was late to football, right? I think he didn't play football his freshman and maybe also his sophomore year. So, again, you don't want to overly discount it, but you do. I mean, if those athletic numbers are at all true, then that's impressive.
I mean, they're slightly inflated, I think, by per day. But you can't inflate the broad jump. I mean, you can't inflate the size and the length. I just tweeted a PFF tweet. They showed him with the 40. I mean, he looks like he's moving like a wide receiver. It's I don't think it's very fake. I think he's a guy who runs in the 4.4s, and he's just a phenomenal athlete. I do think I would like to see it translate a little bit more into the explosiveness off the edge in terms of his pass rush. I mean, you see it on occasion. You see some of the really good kind of high upside traits that you want to see from an edge rusher, but he needs development. I think that's 100% fair to say. That the Ravens have a pretty good track record of developing these mid-round kind of outside linebackers, edge defenders. I think you have someone like Owe who has even more of a skill set, more of the traits. I think you can see him being potentially a very productive player for them.
Yeah, and if I would respond to that in one way, I'd say one of the notes I made about him for the Edge show was that he does have the athletic traits to be a drop to coverage linebacker. So if you want the second Sam, then that it could make sense for that reason. So all I want to say is I really hope all this athleticism is real and it's not something that's imagined and fudged. Fake athlete, fake numbers. Okay, so we got some opinions on this, obviously.
I'm curious also if we think the Ravens, I mean, how much value is it going to take, Dan, for them to be able to move up back into the second with some of these picks? Because I've talked a lot about how I don't think they have the roster spot to take all the draft picks that they have. I mean, is there ammo if a guy like Jenkins or someone else that they really like also continues to fall, like Barmore?
Let me see.
So let's talk about trading maybe to number 40. This is hilarious.
Well, listen, it's taken me a minute because I saw somebody else say give him a chance, and everybody saw my Robert. I'm more upset that we didn't get Jenkins than I am that it was Owe, if that makes sense. Obviously, my heart was in Jenkins. Now, Owe wasn't my top edge either because of the production. So my reaction is more to like getting over Jenkins. And like, I've looked up, Dan will give the exact numbers. It's a lot to get back up into the second.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah. But I do want to say this, maybe it was with, maybe it was on your pod, Ken, when you guys did the Edge preview. And this is not to excuse it, but you have to start thinking. We have to start thinking like the Ravens, who have a very good track record of developing guys and picking the right guys. So now, because of that trust I have with them in their history, unlike at wide receiver, because of that, I want to start thinking what happened. Jordan pointed out that he's very late to this position, and I feel like you guys talked about partly the system that he was set up to, or he set up other people to get the sacks. Is that correct, Ken? I haven't watched his tape, so I'm asking you guys if you've watched the tape.
He played for a Penn State team that lost their first 5 games of the year. It just wasn't a very good unit, period. And you could point to a lot of things, but I think that had to probably hurt his own production. I don't know when he first took up football. I just don't have that in what I had. The last comment on for the Edge show that I had for him that I want to talk about was that some team was going to take a developmental gamble on him before number 27. So I didn't even think the Ravens would get him when we first had this show, but now they did get him and they had other options on the board, and I'm like not happy about it, or I don't think it's the one I would have wanted. But it's a developmental pick. I mean, that's how I'd put it. The guy's still going to be 23 in December, but it's a developmental pick.
Exactly. And, the only other thing that, not to bash the guy, but I would like to see the athleticism I saw supposedly on pro day in his first step as a pass rusher.
I agree with that.
You figure a guy that freaky with those kind of numbers, his first step would just be, and, Jalen Phillips was way ahead of him in that department. So, he has a lot of work to do with his hands as a pass rusher. Maybe he wants to concentrate on a couple of things instead of trying to learn a whole lot. But the first step should be there, and that's why I had him below Basham and Pay and Ojulari and all those other guys. So I'm very nervous about the pick, but if you believe the athletic testing numbers, upside is there. The defense did get faster. So it's one thing you could say.
Great athlete, potentially great playmaker at some point. Guys, we're going to close it out here. I want to make sure we go around the room here. Thank everybody, first of all, and give you a chance to plug your Twitter account, anything else you want to talk about. Dan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, just you can reach out to me on Twitter, DPReese8, as you can see on the bottom there. Happy to talk football. I often publish any numbers and studies that I do, but we'll probably have by the numbers again this year. So just reach out to me on Twitter.
Looking forward to it. That's always a fun show to do with you, Dan. Jordan?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ken. I run a podcast with Gabe, who will introduce himself in a second or close up. But the Raven Situation Room, we're looking at individual games, trying to break down plays, trying to break down film. So if you're into kind of seeing what kind of trends or what's happening in the games, check us out at Raven Sit Room.
All right, Gabe, go ahead.
Yeah, like Jordan said, our podcast, Raven Situation Room. I think I'm going to be tweeting probably a lot over the next couple of days just about the Ravens. You can see me at Gabe Fergie. I like to see kind of big picture things. I like to think about how things work kind of at a high level, and I like to talk about that kind of stuff too. So if you're interested in having some of those conversations, I'm always willing to have them on Twitter.
All right. Outstanding show by the way. The timeliness is really key. It's one of the first things that comes out on Sunday night after a day game on Sunday, of course. Sarah, how you doing?
I'm good. Bateman came up. They gave a presser with Bateman, so I was trying to, look at that real quick. But we're plugging our stuff, right? I'm at SG Ellison. I just mostly do all my stuff on Twitter there. And just to wrap up, I did not expect these two picks. Bateman, I'm very excited about. And OA, I'm intrigued, very, very intrigued. So this will be exciting. I mean, listen, it was two big needs, and the Ravens filled them. And so we'll see what happens.
All right. By the way, Joe Tryon, the last pick of that first round, came out to the Bucks here. Jason, tell people where they can find your stuff.
You can find me on Twitter at Huddle It Up Films, but also YouTube. I have a nice football family over there, so please go over there and subscribe. And I'd like to do more with my videos over there, but my football is my family, and I really appreciate being here, and thanks to everybody out there.
All right, Jason. Hope we see you tomorrow night, and look forward to that on the Zoom call. Take a look out on Film Study Baltimore. You got content from all these people. It's wonderful stuff. Twitter follow, and then also check out their work there. Thanks again for being here, guys. This has been a wonderful night of just enjoying the draft with other like-minded people, and I love this night more than just about any night of the year.
This was a lot of fun. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
All right, Josh, anything to say before we go?
No, all the Zoom details are all over on filmstudybaltimore.com, so you can get ready for day 2 right over there.
Josh, thanks for all your hard work behind the scenes here, on this pod, but on all the other pods and getting them posted. Really appreciate that. At Josh Soroka
That's it. Yep, at Josh Soroka.
And you want to plug your O's show?
Yeah, Birdland Tonight after every Orioles game. Much better post-game show than whatever Masson's doing right now.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, everybody else, for being on. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night on the Zoom call.